bedroom plans will be available. The community, it'll have its own lake and an amenity center with sport courts, a pool, club rooms, and a fitness center. Del Webb will be joining the River Islands roster of fine home builders that are creating all new neighborhoods near the San Joaquin River, alongside a lake or close to parks or trails. You can start your tour now at riverislands.com. Isn't it time for you to discover the islands? This one sure is for me.
Seam heads. Our Giants game day coverage begins now.
It's the mosaic.
So before gloves start popping,
diving, he makes the catch,
and bats start cracking,
it is gone.
We bring you the voice of Bay Area baseball for the past 29 years.
As I always say, baseball reflects what life is all about.
This is Talkin' Baseball with Marty Laurie.
That's what we do. We talk ball.
On KNBR, the sports leader.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Talkin' Baseball on this Saturday as we get ready for Game 2 between the Giants and the Dodgers at Oracle Park today. Giants win it last night, 5-3, a very exciting game, a good baseball game, and they beat the Dodgers last night. Giants having a good homestand. They're 4-1 on the homestand, 3-1 against the Cubs, and a nice 5-3 win last night that had a lot of twists and turns in it, but the Giants hung in there, and they ended up winning the game on a walk-off home run by Brett Wisely in the ninth inning. A two-run shot, and he got his pitch, and folks, he did not miss it, and the kid was really excited, so that was nice to see that, and the Giants win it 5-3. But the news really of last night was sad news, and that was the passing of Orlando Cepeda. And a dear friend of mine and so many people, a very, very special person, an icon of Giants baseball. And boy, we have that picture of the 5 Hall of Famers, Willie McCovey and Willie Mays and Gaylord and Orlando and Juan Marichal, the only one left. And Orlando was 86 years old and passed away yesterday. And that one hit me hard. It's the end of an era. I don't know how to explain it, but Willie was the end of an era, and this one just cemented that. The end of a true era of baseball for everybody, not just Giants baseball. And now we have to move forward. But for Orlando, we knew him as the baby bull, Cha-Cha. And what made him special, he was all baseball, and he just understood the game so well. He remembered every at-bat he ever took. It goes back to his father being the star in Puerto Rico and Orlando being the young kid and didn't really want to play baseball. And he did play baseball, and he was the bat boy for the Santurce team. He played with Clemente. He played with Willie. So many players in Puerto Rico, and he knew so many players from the Negro Leagues because they played in Puerto Rico during the winter. And he and I guess what we had together, and look, I'm not a baseball player, and I didn't know him in the locker room as a baseball player, but we became really good friends just through the love of baseball and the history of baseball. And you know it, if you've seen me with Orlando in the press box or around, we would always just test each other, and I'd throw names at him. Mel Roach, Milwaukee, utility player. Kuno Barrigan, catcher. It didn't matter who it was. Glenn Hobby, curveball. And these are names that he and I would know. And we would go back and forth, and he would throw some to me, and we'd try to stump each other. And it was a lot of fun. But he was a nice man. He was a good man. And I heard so many wonderful tributes last night, and Shooty Babbitt was terrific on the TV show last night. Rich Aurelia and Randy Wynn and Laura Britt, and I'm sure everyone on the radio side. I didn't get to hear everything. But people had such fond memories of Orlando. He's a good man, and he was a heck of a baseball player, I want to tell you. He was really the first favorite San Francisco Giant. Of course, Willie wasn't accepted right away, but Orlando was. And Bill Rigney said, hey, you're my guy. And he put him in there on opening day, April 15th, 1958, against the Dodgers. And he homered for his first home run off Don Besant. And he always told me about that day and how exciting it was. He loved music. Rick Swig was a good friend. I learned so much about Orlando from Rick, who really worked with Orlando so much in the love of music, Cuban music. But Orlando was all San Francisco, and he was unanimous Rookie of the Year. And then he got traded in the mid-'60s. In 1966, he gets traded from the Giants to the St. Louis Cardinals on a day, and I read this today in one of the articles, maybe John Shea wrote it for Henry, I forget who. Tito Fuentes went 5 for 5 that day, and he was very excited. And then Orlando gets traded to the Cardinals that afternoon, and he just had to change clubhouses. Well, he went to the Cardinals, not happily, but he walked in and turned that team around. And in 1967, they won the World Series. Bob Gibson helped as well, and so did Roger Maris. But Orlando was the guy. Unanimous most valuable player in the National League in 1967. He was a fearsome hitter, a great hitter. And, of course, he played first base. He played the outfield, third base. Bill Rigney, Alvin Dark, the managers, Herman Franks probably was the one who really wanted to trade him. They got Ray Sadecki, which always goes down as one of the worst trades in Giants history. But then he came back, and he became really part of the community of the Giants. And if it was my bobblehead night, believe it or not, and thank you, Russ Stanley and Mario Alioto, for creating that years ago. And they had a presentation out at Seals Plaza for me, and Eddie Montague was there, Ron Wotus was there, and Orlando was there as part of the panel. And I'll never forget that. I did so many nice shows with Orlando at Cooperstown SF with the Byer family. So he was just a great guy, and he was a great baseball player, and he loved baseball right up to the last second. One of the thrills I had, bring John Shea over to meet Orlando, and John knew him, of course, but John was doing the book on Willie and wanted to talk to Orlando to get his feelings about it. And Orlando loved Willie. He loved Willie Mays. And John and I went to where Orlando was in the assisted living at that time, and John got all the information he needed for his book, and I always appreciated that day. But it's a tough loss. It is. It's a tough loss for the Giants community. It's been a tough 2 weeks with Willie Mays and now Orlando, and it really is the end of an era of Giants baseball, of the great times of the 60s, and Juan Marichal is the last one to carry the flag, to carry the torch forward. And Juan, I hope he comes out more often, that we get to talk with him and talk about those days. The one now for me is Tito Fuentes. Tito has a great love of baseball, loved Orlando, and he knows everything. And I could go back and forth with Tito on all the names and the Cuban players and all that. So Tito is now my link, my baseball link, and it's a pleasure always to talk with him. So it was a tough one, and I went on the cruise with a beer can on the Giants cruise. We stopped in San Juan, and who met me at the boat? Orlando and his wife. And they took us out in San Juan. Beautiful restaurant. Orlando walks in as the king, the hero. Picks us up at the boat, takes us back that evening, and we had a great night. And that was Orlando Cepeda. Being there, Beer Can's 50th birthday, he was there as well. All the birthdays we could attend. September 17th, I was usually working, so I couldn't be there, but always was invited. So Orlando was good. He was a good man. He had things in his life. He overcame things, but the Giants stood up for him. Pat Gallagher did. Became a Hall of Famer. But he was a feared baseball player. He could run. Doubles, stolen bases, RBIs. Still has a record for RBIs as a franchise record for a Giant. So, my friend, I'm sorry you're gone. I loved you, and your memory will be a blessing to me. So, Orlando Cepeda, we'll talk more about him today. But that's life, and this is what we face in Willie Mays and now Orlando Cepeda. All right, last night, as Dwayne says, there was a game last night. Giants do win at 5-3. Duvall gets the win. Trinan takes the loss. He gave up the home run to Brett Wisely. Dodgers had a 3-0 lead, And this Landon Knack was pitching very well. Giants have trouble hitting the breaking ball. And they're going to see a lot of curveballs today from Tyler Glasnow. He can throw hard, but he'll throw that breaking ball. And Knack had him on the breaking ball, and when he threw fastballs, they hit it. Matos hit his 4th home run of the year, got it to 3-1. And then Chapman, who's a heck of a player. He really is a heck of a player. He really is. I like Chapman. I like the way he's playing. I'm glad he's here. His 10th home run, 414 feet to left. It was gone, just gone. And he got a fastball up, and he didn't miss it. And that put the Giants up 3-2. And then in the 9th inning, Ramos almost makes a miraculous catch and turns into a triple. Giants give up that tying run. Duvall does on a sac fly to Hayward. And then Wisely in the bottom of the 9th hits it out. 5-3, 40,052, a sellout last night. Fireworks night, 2 hours, 15 minutes. The Giants pen, 2 innings, a couple of hits, that run in the 9th. But the Dodger pen, 3 1/3, 3 hits, 4 runs, 3 earned, 2 walks, no strikeouts. Dodger pen is vulnerable. And without Mookie Betts in that lineup, it is a different kind of lineup. So we'll see what happens today. Tyler Glasnow, we'll talk about it. Andy Baggerly is coming up next against Eric Miller is the opener for the Giants today. Blake Snell pitched last night for the River Cats. 3 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, struck out 6. Hopefully he likes what he did last night, and we'll see him soon. Alex Cobb, rehab, perhaps Sunday in San Jose if everything's okay with him. So reinforcements are on the way. This summer, as I said it a million times, as we end June, we've got 3 real months of baseball ahead, and the pitching and defense will be the key. But a lot of players coming back for the Giants. All right, more coming up. I love you, Orlando, and I'm sorry you're gone. Andy Baggerly next, right here on the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
And a friend of mine.
Everyone likes a party, but everyone loves a party at Original Joe's. With 3 private dining rooms, it's the perfect spot to hold your next big event. From christenings to corporate gatherings, we'll make your next party San Francisco special. Original Joe's, see you at the counter.
Experience the epitome of luxury and craftsmanship with Inicio Windows and Doors, another exciting product line from BMD Manufacturing. Inicio Windows and Doors sets the standard in ultra-premium European design. Wow. For the most demanding American building standards. Available both in steel and aluminum, they are meticulously engineered to elevate your living space to new heights of sophistication. Learn more about Inicio Windows and Doors today. Discover the perfect blend of European beauty and style with unwavering durability and strength. Visit InicioWindows.com. INICIO Windows.com. Inicio Windows and Doors, where European design meets American craftsmanship.
And a friend of mine who's here right now, Mike Gallo, he was the guy who first took me out. He used to go to Copacabana on Thursday night, dance Latin music. That's why Johnny Antonelli, he got me the name Cha-Cha.
Is that how you got Cha-Cha from Johnny Antonelli?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Prepping you for today's orange and black ball game, we now take you back to Talking Baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR, the sports leader.
Boy, just like Raf played Willie Mays last week, and just hearing his voice choked me up. Just hearing Orlando's voice saying Johnny Antonelli was the one who named him Cha-Cha. Boy, just to hear Orlando's voice one more time, I love it. Andy Baggerly joins us. He writes for The Athletic, and of course one of the top baseball writers, I think, and always has an interesting angle on everything. Andy, how are you today?
Hey, Marty, I'm good. How are you? I'm thinking some Cha-Cha Bowls are going to be sold the rest of this weekend. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get your thoughts about Orlando. You saw him so many times in the press box and got to talk with him, and there's something about him. There's a sweetness about him. But he was a hell of a baseball player.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he played before my time, but he's kind of he's the ultimate good problem to have when you look back at Giants history, and they had two Hall of Famers to play first base, and now you can't really name three good first basemen in all of Major League Baseball, basically, and they had to trade Orlando, or felt they had to, because they had Willie Mack, and I mean, can you imagine that's probably about as good problem to have as any team can ever have, and then, by the way, Willie Mays was part of that team too. It really does kind of blow me away to think about how many ways the 2010 team was kind of ragtag and put together, and they were a fourth-place team at the All-Star break. And, anytime fans get really upset about the Giants now, I kind of want to tell them, hey, look, not all is hopeless. Look at where the 2010 team was at the All-Star break. They're in fourth place. But, I guess my point being, it blows me away that those teams in the 60s with all of those great star players – did win a World Series. Came very, very close, obviously, as close as you can come. But it was neat for me to see Orlando, Willie Mack, those guys get World Series rings when they were given out after the 10 World Series, and almost like it meant more to them than to anybody else. And obviously they're very close to the Giants family, and a lot of that has to do with Peter McGowan, Bob Lurie, and what they've done to bring them back in the organization. In Orlando's case, had to take some bullets to do it, really, because, he obviously was, sort of on the outs a little bit, with some of the legal problems. And like you said, I only knew him to be just a very, very super nice person. Wish I could have gotten to see him play, but obviously I was born a little too late for that. But, great player, an MVP and a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, unanimous MVP, unanimous Rookie of the Year. How about that? You don't see that often. But sitting up in the press box with him, with Eddie Montague and his good friend Peter Saltzman, who we lost this year too, I had a lot of fun with him. And, he was just a good friend to everybody. And it's a loss with Willie. And, of course, now Orlando, roughly about 10 days later. You and I haven't talked since seeing you in Rickwood. What was your overall experience in Rickwood? What did you think?
Oh, I thought it was great. I mean, everyone I think who was a part of it came away thinking not just, hey, this was really worth all the logistical effort to make this happen, but this needs to happen again and again and again. You know, it's and I think it will in some form or function, and maybe play a whole series there. I know it's tough to get teams to give up their home dates, and that's understandable, but it would have been fun just to sort of decamp and be in Birmingham for more than. For in my case, in the Giants players' case, they flew in the night before real late, or me the morning of, and you go straight to the ballpark. I think I was probably on the ground in Birmingham for about 21 hours, and just wish I could have been there a little bit longer to soak it in. But it was great, and obviously made a lot more poignant by Willie passing when he did. It's an era of history of baseball history that reflects American history in a lot of ways, and it's not just, it's partly you're celebrating the determination and the joy to play the game, and partly you're also being reminded of why that happened, and sort of the hate that and the exclusion, and the white power structure that was durable at that time, and it's still durable in many ways. And you're reminded by what Reggie Jackson says. You got to keep American history in mind and know the history of this country, and that a lot of people were not born with sort of the same advantages as others, and that's generational. So I think it's just important. It's important when baseball reflects history like that.
Well, as I always said, U.S. history is always reflected on the diamond. Everything that ever happened in U.S. history showed up on the baseball diamond one way or another, and that's when I created the AmericanInnings.org, dedicated to that. So, yeah, I had the same feeling, and for me it was very moving being at the 16th Street Baptist Church where the 4 little girls were killed in 1963 in the bombing, and things like that. But being in the park and understanding the men who showed up and the honor, the names all of a sudden and the numbers that go with them were very important. So, yeah, I'm with you. I'd love to see baseball do it repeatedly, and I hope that they do. It's that important to do it. Andy, what about this ball club? We just passed the 81 mark, and here we go. There's still that group of 7 or 8 teams kind of in that mix for these wild card spots. San Diego may be separating a little bit right now. They're pretty good. But what do you think about the Giants right now?
Yeah, I think that, it just one weekend, one series, 1 week could really, change, who's first and who's eighth, So you're right, the Padres, I think, are 4 over 500 now. The Cardinals are 3 over. I'll tell you what you really have to pay attention to, and I'm paying attention to, Marty, is there's so many teams that are in this wild card race, and we know from just how it played out last year that who holds those head-to-head tiebreakers is really important, because those ties aren't played off on the field anymore. And so one thing that was pretty big is that the Giants, by taking 3 out of 4 from the Cubs, they lost 2 of 3 at Wrigley, so they took the season series. So that's a good check mark in their corner. Now you look at the Cardinals, and by losing the Rickwood game of 2 in St. Louis, they end the season with the Cardinals at home, and obviously would have to win all 3 just to split the season series, and we'll see if that makes a difference at the very, very end. But these games against the Dodgers are important, against the Braves are important. They're good teams. You want to play well against good teams. If you can win a series, all the better, but just try to basically, not fall too far under 500, I think is what the Giants' maybe goal should be right now until they get reinforcements and they're not just TBAing it from one series to the next, almost in survival mode. But, maybe these games against the Dodgers, the Braves, if you had to really pick series to win, you'd rather win the series against the Mets and the Nationals and the Padres and the Diamondbacks, and maybe even the Pirates, the Reds, these teams that are still kind of in it. And, it's going to be real interesting to see where all those tiebreakers end up as we approach the final weeks of the season.
Do you see Farhan doing anything at the trade deadline, or is he getting players back, essentially making trades by getting Snell back and Robbie Ray back and Cobb back, and maybe Tom Murphy, if you want to throw him in as a catcher, and Tristan Beck? Is that kind of where they're heading, or do you think he could actually shake things up and say, hey, I really do want a solid outfielder, and I'm going to part with a couple of minor leaguers to do it?
Yeah, a couple things. Number one, for folks to say they should sell, I think they're pot committed. I think that they've spent a lot of money. They're over the luxury tax. Unless they just think this is completely hopeless and they want to try to get rid of some payroll so that they can dip under the luxury tax and not be in the penalty, I really just don't see them selling. I think they've invested too much in this season to do that. Now, in terms of buying, I would just say to probably, temper your expectations because there's not that many teams that are going to be selling. And the ones that are, whether it's a Crochet or a Lewis Robert in Chicago, perhaps, even like a Jesus Luzardo is hurt now, and he's a guy who might have had a little bit of clamor for his services. I think you're right. I think they're going to look at the potential boost they're going to get from these pitchers coming back and say to themselves, and they're not wrong, I don't think, that they potentially could get as big a boost from that, probably more so than any team might get who can go out and acquire somebody. So, I would say they're probably going to roll with mostly the team they have and just hope it's the healthiest version of that team.
How do you assess Ramos, who's hit a little bit of a slump there? He still looks good at the plate. He really does. And he made a heck of a try for that ball last night in center field, the triple that tied it up in the ninth inning. But looking at him, looking at Matos, looking at Wisely, looking at Fitzgerald, and some of the pitchers who we've seen up, Birdsong the other night, I thought has got a big league arm. I think it's just a matter of time for him. How do you assess what we're seeing with the young players right now?
Yeah, I think it's got to be really encouraging. And they've needed it. If they haven't had the performance they've gotten out of Elliot Ramos with, we know that Wilmer Flores has been banged up all year and he finally goes on the IL. Tyro Estrada's sitting there with about a .265 on base percentage, and he's done some good things, but boy, that's just a lot of air out of the balloon day after day to have a guy who doesn't get on base like that for as much other good things as he does for you. And then, obviously, Nick Ahmed was hurt early. Marco Luciano hasn't been ready to play shortstop. So, for Wisely to play the way he has defensively, for Ramos to play the way he has defensively after losing Jung-Hoo Lee, those might be the two biggest developments. Is as much as, those guys have done some great things offensively, in Ramos's case, an all-star type level production offensively, I think it's probably even more important what they've done to stabilize the middle of the field defensively. I mean, the Giants were kind of a mess at shortstop, and they were most definitely they lost their opening day center fielder, the guy that they, made a 6-year commitment to. So for Ramos to play as well as he has in center and for Wisely to play as well as he has at short, I think have been just two massive pieces in keeping the Giants sort of in this. Because otherwise, there's the way that the pitching is sort of splintered in the rotation, they're getting less value out of the rotation than even like the Rockies and Marlins are. And they very easily could be 15 games under 500 right now, if not for some of these performances we're talking about.
Yeah, they don't have a rotation. Come on. They got Logan Webb and, then Hicks, and who knows how far Hicks is going to go. So they really don't have one. And you pointed out the other day in the Cubs series, the last game, of not being able to use Duvall. I think Bob Melvin's done a heck of a job dealing with the fact that he's got to go to 3 openers or a rookie pitcher every time through the rotation. How about Bob Melvin handling this?
Yeah, I'm sure that he hasn't managed the way he'd want to. You're in survival mode. You're trying to make sure, that you have as many options as you can possibly have the next day. Make sure that if you use Sean Jelly for a second inning, you probably don't have Sean Jelly for a couple days, and maybe they feel that they really can't afford to have a reliever down for multiple days like that. Now, I think that probably the best criticism of the Luke Jackson move the other day is that they could have brought in Taylor Rogers instead. Rogers having a much better season. That certainly would have been the move I think I would have made there. But it's just really hard to sort of drill down on some of the individual choices that Bob Melvin has made when, in some, he's just had to find a way to just have coverage. And honestly, they've had to run the gauntlet like every day. If Spencer Howard doesn't give them 4+ innings and 8 strikeouts on Monday, they're probably messed up for the whole week, and then they need Birdsong to pitch into the 5th inning. And if he only, if he has jitters and he walks, 5 and doesn't get out of the 2nd inning, then they're screwed for the whole week. And so they've needed kind of to avoid disaster every single day. And I feel like they've been teetering on it. That's just no way to operate, especially over 162-game season, and and they haven't had a day off over this stretch to kind of reset. So, it's been difficult. There's a lot of other things you can point to. Certainly, the discrepancy with stolen bases versus the amount of stolen bases allowed. A lot of that is how the roster is constructed. Which is on Farhan Zaidi for saying, hey, look, we can't finish last in the major leagues in stolen bases last year, and here they are again halfway through the season, last in the major leagues in stolen bases. But also, hey, that's on the coaching staff as much as the players, that they've been sort of victimized as much by opposing teams on the base paths, and so there's a lot to tighten up. There's a lot for everybody to tighten up. The team has not played well, and on the whole. And I think that they're probably still holding out hope that once they get a little bit more sort of semblance of durability and consistency from a healthy rotation, then everything else will sort of snap in place. And it's not the craziest hope. I think there is some warranted hope there, but to this point, I'd have to say they've got to be a little disappointed with where they are.
Yeah, I think so. But I think when it's all said and done, for these two spots, and they're going into Atlanta at the right time. Atlanta is not hitting at all. I mean, their outfield is turned into zeros with Kelnick and Adam Duvall, and Harris is out. They're not getting anything done from their outfield. Atlanta's pitching is trouble, and they may get Chris Sale and Morton in this 3-game series, so that could be trouble. But for these two spots, and I looked at it this morning, I said, well, St. Louis. Probably the Mets, San Diego, and the Giants, because I think Pittsburgh, probably Arizona, Washington, Cincinnati, and the Cubs, I think they're going to disappear.
Yeah, Arizona's had some pitching problems for sure. Pittsburgh, they've gotten a lift from Skeens, and they certainly have a lot of young talent, but, I think that there's still some holes there. Washington, I think, has overachieved, and they've played well. You never know. A young team like that can arrive at his schedule. They're calling up, I guess, James Wood, their big outfield prospect
Monday.
that they got in the Soto trade. You never know. If he hits the ground running, then, they may be a team to watch. And, the Mets, obviously, are still hanging around there, and they've got some people who've been through it before. I really don't know how it's going to go, Marty, but I do agree with you. I think the Cardinals have looked a lot better lately. Burleson's had some good games. They're probably going to get Nootbaar back soon. I think a lot of it's going to boil down to Goldschmidt and Arenado and how much those guys have left. And the starting pitching they've been a little short on all year, but the bullpen's been pretty good, and they've obviously got a great closer. So, it really is a little bit of a mess, and you never know who's going to come out of nowhere. It could be a team that really hasn't hit their stride yet, and I agree with you. I think that the Padres have a lot going in their direction. And if I had to sort of pick, I think which teams you'd watch out for the most, you probably pick the right ones: the Braves and Cardinals and Padres.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that you got to deal with the Mets as well. Did you see Iglesias last night after the game? Did you get a chance to see him sing his song "OMG Candelita"?
No, I missed that one.
Oh, come on, man! You got to go. You got to look this one up. He does a whole rap song and with dancers and the whole thing after the Met victory last night, and now that's kind of their thing. It was wild. It was great. It's what baseball is. It's fun. So if you have a chance, take a look at that. That's worth it. That's worth it.
Yeah.
All right.
The Mets always have something going on.
Oh, come on. Well, we could talk about Diaz another day, but that's another one that probably, I don't know what the standard is when to kick a pitcher out, what you have to have on your hands. So that's a legal issue we can deal with another day. The last guy I want to talk, two things. One, do the Giants have an all-star here? Who's the all-star for the Giants?
Boy, I'll tell you what, if I'm a manager and I'm putting together a team and I want to win the game, I want Ryan Walker on that team. I mean, he's nasty. He's right behind Tyler Rogers for the second most appearances in the major leagues, and Tyler Rogers is probably right there too. It would be really a cool story if he gets to be an all-star. His brother was an all-star once, and that would be, I think, some neat symmetry there. I would want either one of those guys in my bullpen. Elliot Ramos, I think, especially, even though he came up, in May, there's just not a lot of outfielders in the National League, putting up numbers this year. So, Acuña's out for the year, as you mentioned. Bryce Harper has moved to first base. Mookie Betts has moved to shortstop. There's just not the same inventory of outfielders. I think Christian Yelich is obviously an all-star. Jurickson Profar's having a fantastic year. But Ramos, I think he could sneak in that game. And I know Joel Sherman of MLB Network in the Post made the comment that he would love to see Ramos start that game and have a giant in center field in the year of Willie Mays' passing, which obviously would have quite a bit of emotional heft to it there. So I think you can make a great case for Ramos. You can make a great case for Logan Webb every year. It'll be interesting to see how many pitchers, if he's not one of the first selected, which I don't think he would be, maybe they'll need some replacements who don't go on the Sunday. So he certainly deserved to be there last time. I think the only reason he didn't make it over Alex Cobb is because he was pitching on the Sunday, so you'd name him, you have to replace him right away. But Logan Webb is probably one of the best players in the major leagues who has not been on an all-star team. So you look at him, and, Lamont Wade Jr.'s missed a lot of time, but if he were to, go off in a couple of weeks and get his timing back right away, maybe he could make a push. But I would go with Walker and Ramos would be my picks.
I like the call. Very good. I hadn't thought about Walker. Very good. I'm going to go kind of out of the box and go with Bailey. Right. You got Will Smith, and you got one of the Contrerases. I'm not sure, Wilson, William, whoever he is in Milwaukee, who seems to be doing well. And then Bailey, for me, he is the guy. He hits third, fourth, and I realize they're stealing a million bases on him. But I think Bailey, that's kind of my long shot.
Yeah, I don't think the steals are really on Bailey so much as they're on the pitching staff, and that's why they're really working on, doing inside moves and varying their times a little bit more. I think, they've definitely gotten away from that, and they've become really, really predictable as a staff, and so that's what they're trying to drill down on now. And there are some guys who are just not going to be quick to the plate, and it's the way that they pitch. But there are other things you can do to shorten up that lead, and you've seen Bailey do a couple back picks there lately. And I know you only get the 3 throwovers, which incentivizes base stealing, but if you use them properly, even if you use it a third time, I remember Alex Cobb did that with Jazz Chisholm. I think it was last year. It said, look, he's got the math on his side. He's going to go. He's going to steal the base anyway. My only shot is to pick him off here, and so he took the shot. I'd like to see pitchers try that more often too. Maybe you catch guys unaware. And they have gotten some guys out lately. They got caught Morel off base the other day in the Cubs series. So, it is something they're going to have to pay more attention to.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a pitch out once in a while either. I think that helps help Bailey a little bit if they do that. So we'll see. But just put it in their minds. You hate to give up any count leverage, so I know, but
do it like maybe 0-2 or 0-1. But yeah, just to plant the seed, kind of a thing.
Yeah, why not? I mean, if they're running like crazy on you, you better do something. So we'll see. But I am generally right, so I say pitch out.
Generally, Marty, you're generally right.
All right. Hey, Andy, thanks for coming on today, especially those kind words about Orlando. I know a lot of people have those feelings, and I'm glad that we could talk about it. So have a good afternoon. I appreciate it.
Me too. Thanks, Marty. Appreciate the time.
All right, that is Andy Baggerly of The Athletic. Always a good discussion of baseball with extra bags on Twitter. All right, coming up next, Mark Simon, Sports Info Solutions. This is always fun with Mark, and he'll know about Iglesias. Trust me, he's a Met fan. This is something, take a look on YouTube or whatever to see what went on after the Met game last night with their shortstop. All right, more coming up right here on the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Fans, Bridge Bank delivers their clients full relationship banking, including treasury management solutions and global market services. Bridge Bank offers financing solutions to businesses for their working capital, equipment, and real estate needs. This is very important in today's world. Fred Voss is the Senior Managing Director of Bridge Bank's commercial lending efforts in Northern California. He has commercial banking teams in San Jose with Jesse Garcia, San Francisco, Oakland, Cheadle Cordova, and in Pleasanton. Bridge Bank, it's like banking at home. I can't say enough about it.
Mark Simon. Mark, I love you, man.
Fans, you know what that introduction means? It's Mark A. Simon. Mark Simon of Sports Info Solutions. Mark A. Simon says on Twitter. He always joins us on Saturday or Sunday on the weekend. Mark, it's great to have you with us. How are you?
Oh, no, I got suspended for sticky stuff. I'm good. How are you?
Well, you brought it up. Diaz, the closer.
Yep.
You know, it's an interesting rule. He hadn't thrown a pitch yet, but he came in and was inspected, and then they said, well, he had sticky stuff on his hands, and, of course, he got suspended for 10 days. How do you come in with that right out of the bullpen?
Yeah, they showed his hand. It didn't look great, although it did look like rosin. It didn't necessarily look like anything problematic, but the umpires felt that it did. Someone brought up the point boy, this was yesterday, I forget who said it, that it's really tough because there's no like standard. It's not like, okay, this you can go up to this line and do whatever you're doing, but if you go over this line, then you're guilty. It really comes down to the umpire in the moment, and it's possible maybe that, who knows, that like the umpire might have had an inkling that something was up, or whatever, may have had like a reason to think about it, and that could be literally anything. But that's the thing that's kind of weird about it. At the same time, the hand did look pretty grimy, and I had read somewhere that Diaz was someone that was going to be impacted by this rule, which he didn't have to deal with last year because he was hurt. So it really hasn't mattered to the Mets, though. They've been playing great.
Boy, we're going to talk about that on the show today. Mark Simon with us, so we love having him on. Mark A. Simon says on Twitter, Mark of Sports Info Solutions. Mark, good game last night at the ballpark between the Giants and the Dodgers. Logan Webb did his thing, and just about up there, the league leader, major league leader in innings pitched. But today we have another pitching matchup, and this one's a little different, maybe more one-sided to the Dodgers. They throw their best, really, and that's Glasnow. For the Giants, we got another opener, and that's the lefty. We understand why it's a lefty with Ohtani and Freeman up there, but it's Eric Miller today, so let's talk about this one.
Yeah, we would suspect that we'll see Spencer Howard probably later in the game. But Glasnow is coming off of two really excellent starts. The curveball for him is one of his key pitches, and he has destroyed people with it the last two starts, and he has destroyed people with it the last two seasons when he's been healthy. When he's right, the curveball is almost impossible to hit. Fastball is pretty good, too. He throws at 97. He has that long extension, so it feels like 100, 101, and he is going to be very tough to hit. I didn't actually write out anything on Eric Miller. I wrote out some stuff on Spencer Howard and his really weird reverse splits and how right-handed hitters are hitting him really, really hard, just about all over the place, with both the fastball and the slider, and lefties haven't been able to touch him. So, yeah, start Eric Miller and I guess get that inning out. And then I would figure Howard hasn't pitched in, 4 or 5 days, so you would figure it'd be him. Hopefully by the time you're – oh, maybe I shouldn't say that. But hopefully by the time you're listening to this, you know that. The other thing to watch with Howard is strike one. After a 1-0 count, opponents are crushing him, OPS near 1,000. After an 0-1 count, OPS near 500, completely different at-bat. If you fall behind 0-1 against him, completely different at bat for the hitter.
Boy, great information on both of them. Last night, the Giants couldn't touch the breaking ball, but they could hit the fastball. And they got a couple of fastballs last night, 3 home runs for the Giants. So we'll see how the Dodgers and the curveball approach the Giants today. One other thing about Spencer Howard, to get ready for his day, he likes to stand on a bed of nails. How about that?
That sounds like something out of like a 1920s magician.
Yep, exactly. Dave Raymond, who broadcast for the Rangers, when the Giants played the Rangers, gave that story about Spencer Howard.
That's crazy. Love it.
Yeah, that's what he does. All right, Giants number 8 hitters. Boy, the end of the lineup again doing damage.
Yeah, so this is super ridiculous. And I just think it's kind of funny. So we'll start with the number 9 hitters. The number 9 hitters 2 days ago had 2 hits, went 2 for 4. The number 9 hitters entering Friday, I don't know if it's still true today, had the highest batting average of any slot in the Giants lineup, which I think is just absurd because that should be your 1 hitter or your 2 hitter or your 3 hitter or your 4 hitter. Your 9th best hit, number 9 hitter should probably have like the 7th or 8th best batting average. So that's one thing. Then Wisely hits the home run yesterday. He's hitting 8th. Giants' number 8 hitters rank first on the team in home runs with 14. Third, and like the best OPS by slot and lineup for the Giants, the number 6 spot and then the number 8 spot. The 8 spot is 160 points better than the 1 spot, 90 points better than the 2 spot, and almost 90 points better than the 3 spot. That is what Tim Kirkjian would call a quirkjian. That is ridiculous. It makes no sense. They've used 16 different players starting in the 8th spot, and most of them have been good. A couple have not been but 16 different players have combined to produce better than just about anybody else in the Giants lineup. So ridiculous.
Boy, amazing. But Wisely, boy, he did not miss his pitch last night from Trinan, who loves to keep the ball down. And he gave Wisely one up and in, and Wisely did not miss it. Wow.
Yep.
Good. Well, good information. Good information. All right. In that 9th inning, Duvall comes in amidst the entree and the music and the lights and all that, and he probably should have had a save last night. Ramos chased the ball down in center field, and I still say if the ball's in the park, center fielder's got to catch it. That's my feeling. And it looked like he got there, and the ball maybe just tipped off the heel of his glove.
Yeah, so I have a suspicion on this, and when I watched it, I was like, I felt like there was blame to be put on him for this, and that's because he essentially had the ball, and it hit the wrong spot, and he didn't catch it. But the math of this is such that a ball that's hit 107, which that ball was crushed, 107 miles an hour, 19-degree launch angle. That's a impressive batted ball because it's really hard and it's not super high. It's not like a towering fly ball that's going to go over the fence. It's a line drive that's not quite right at him, but he's got to go back and try and get it. And the math of this is such that the ball was only in the air for 4 seconds. So he's got to make his move really quick. And you could see he didn't go straight, but it looked like he took a good line to the ball. That ball's a hit 65, 70, 75% of the time in the outfield. center field, as you said, center fielders are better athletes than left fielders or right fielders. So you cut that down a little bit. But I don't feel like that ball was a gimme. I feel like that ball was probably more of a 50-50. He did a good job to get back to have a chance at it, and he just muffed it. And that's the unfortunate thing, because if he had come close to it and reached and just missed it, you wouldn't be like, oh, man, Elliot Ramos can't play center field. But because he got his glove on it, it's a little bit more frustrating. I give him credit for getting to the point where he could get his glove on it.
No, I agree with good analysis of that. The point is he did get there, and it was a tough play, and he did, as you say, he muffed it. But Giants come back and win anyway, but it did cost Logan Webb the win in the game. Lamont Wade, he's back, and he did get a hit. Struck out his first couple of times. Boy, do they miss Lamont Wade. I'll tell you, it's just having him in that lineup. It's going to take him a few games to get back, but he is back.
Yeah, and oh my gosh, the math on this too, we got to talk about. In the month that he was out, Giants against right-handed pitching hit about 200 and slugged 340. They basically hit like a weak shortstop against right-handed pitching for a month. And I think he was significantly missed. He certainly lengthens the lineup. He makes that one spot or two spot or wherever you put him much more productive, certainly against right-handed pitching. When I just said a second ago that the 1, 2, and 3 spots have not been highly productive for the Giants this year, and he's solid defensively. And I think that you will see this, and you just hope that he stays on the field for the next 75 games or so.
I'm going to throw you a curveball here, as I like to do. Why would you put Soler in the leadoff spot? What's that all about?
I think they're just looking to get him going. I think they're just looking to get him 4 at-bats a game. I think if you want to get him going, though, hit him ninth or hit him eighth and just stick him there, because that seems to be the magic spot. But I think that's what it is. I think they want to give him confidence. They want to give him as much of an opportunity as possible to dig out of the hole that he's dug himself into this year.
All right, maybe with Wade behind him, that'll help. Some good games today. Boy, on the slate today, there are some good games. Paul Skeens goes today for the Pirates against a Brave team that is really struggling to score runs. Their outfield is miserable right now with all the injuries, especially Acuna and Harris being out. And he goes against Max Fried today. That's a pretty good matchup.
Yeah, that's ultra as far as pitching matchups go. That's the Pirates trying to hang in this wild card race, 39-42. Skeens has the 8-1 strikeout to walk, the ERA approaching 2, 12 strikeouts per 9. And the other thing that's really impressive about him is that you can't run on him. We have a thing, we track pitcher times to the plate. From the moment that the pitcher makes his first move, we do it like with a freeze frame, where we're watching it like frame by frame to identify where he makes his first move to when the ball's in the catcher's mitt. And Paul Skeens is in like the top, I think it's like the top 5% of pitchers in terms of time to the plate. And he's allowed only 1 stolen base this season. He's caught a guy, had a guy picked off. You can't hit him because that splitter's really nasty, and he throws 100, and you can't run on him once you get on base. And that's the thing that's impressive to me.
All right, maybe give up a home run once in a while.
He's only got a 5, one every 9 innings.
All right, good. Well, that's a good one today. And the Giants get the Braves next. As I say, the Braves are not hitting right now. Riley is hot, but the Braves are not hitting the way. They've got a lot of injuries that are taking the toll on them. The Giants lost one of their icons last night, a Hall of Famer and a dear friend of ours, Orlando Cepeda. Your thoughts on Orlando Cepeda?
Yeah, so, again, this isn't someone that I necessarily would have seen. I'm 49. So his career ends kind of right when my life starts. But in talking to my dad in the past about him and in just doing the research on his numbers, if you look in particular at those Giants years and then the Cardinal MVP year that he had, that 10-season stretch is in that 10 years, he's one of the feared hitters in baseball. He's not necessarily McCovey or Aaron or Mays or Mantle or Frank Robinson, but he's in that next group with a variety of players like the Kalines and the Killebrews and others. There are guys even like Norm Cash, Carly Yastrzemski, Willie Stargell, guys that were feared hitters in their time. like some of the advanced stats aren't necessarily the best to measure him because they kind of penalize first baseman a little bit because it's a position where there were a lot of power hitters and very good players. But like his offensive numbers are terrific. He's important certainly to the Giants family and the Giants history. You could even make the case that he's important to someone like Dick Allen's Hall of Fame case because he's a comparable for Dick Allen statistically, and also with the fact that there was off the field things that were involved in their not getting in by the writers' ballot. But yeah, certainly very sad after what happened with Willie, and but lived to 87, and I think he had a pretty good run as a baseball player, and seems like he had a great run as a person too.
Yep. Solid man. We love him and miss him. One other thing, you may have a new theme song next week. Jose Iglesias of the Mets, after the game yesterday, sang his song OMG, and the place went nuts. The team went nuts. You got to explain this one to me.
So he's been a Met for a little while. He's been a Met for this year. He was in the minor leagues for a while. He's someone who it feels like is at the end of his career. And I guess he had written some songs and recorded some songs in the past. And this, I think they said that it was this spring he was depressed or upset about, not depressed, but upset about something. And he went out and wrote this song that it's very catchy. It's in Spanish for the most part, but OMG is a big part of it. And it's part of their now home runs. It's part of there's when they hit a home run or get a hit, there's like a little thing they do with their hands to celebrate. And I was talking to Eduardo Perez about this, and he said, don't underestimate the value of great team chemistry, which it seems like the Mets are building between him doing something like that and J.D. Martinez taking a lot of the younger hitters, including Pete Alonso, under his wing and helping them along. And the team's played great. Francisco Lindor's been terrific in the leadoff spot. Nimmo's been on a really good run. They don't necessarily have the pitching at the moment, but they can add it if they want to at the trade deadline. And they're certainly very much in the hunt for one of those wildcard spots.
Boy, well, fans, if you haven't seen the video of Jose Iglesias, you got to see this one. This is one I hadn't seen before. This was pretty good.
And let me say this, too. 40-39 is about what you would have figured the Mets would be at this point if you had been before the season. This wouldn't have been that abnormal a record to say that they were going to have. It just seems abnormal because they started so poorly, and now they're on this great tear. You're never as great as your best moments, and you're never as bad as your worst moments. There's something in between.
Yep, and save it for the end. That's where you want to do it. All right, Mark, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. This has been a lot of fun today. So have a good day, and we'll talk to you next week.
You got it.
All right, that's Mark Simon of Sports Info Solutions. More coming up right here on the Sports Leader. Fans, I heard from Gene Bagato up at Badega Bay, and with the arrival of summer and the ensuing warmer weather, there's no better place to escape the heat than the Sonoma Coast. Up at the Tides Wharf restaurant in Badega Bay, there's something for everybody. From the always popular fried calamari and New England clam chowder to an in-house smoked fish and the Badega Bay burger made with fresh chuck ground daily to ensure top quality. In the fish market, I love the sand dabs, one will find everything needed for a picnic at the beach or just to take home. And if you're looking to stay a while, the Inn at the Tides is just across the highway, waiting for you with its spacious rooms, all with bay views and a heated swimming pool. So if you're looking to get away this summer, remember the Tides Wharf and the Inn at the Tides in scenic Badega Bay. Fans, I heard from Gene Bagato up at Badega Bay, and with the arrival of summer and the ensuing warmer weather, there's no better place to escape the heat than the Sonoma coast. Up at the Tides Wharf restaurant in Badega Bay, there's something for everybody. From the always popular fried calamari and New England clam chowder to an in-house smoked fish and the Badega Bay burger made with fresh chuck ground daily to ensure top quality. In the fish market, I love the sand dabs, one will find everything needed for a picnic at the beach or just to take home. And if you're looking to stay a while, the Inn at the Tides is just across the highway, waiting for you with its spacious rooms, all with bay views and a heated swimming pool. So if you're looking to get away this summer, remember the Tides Wharf and the Inn at the Tides in scenic Badega Bay. It's been a pleasure working with Rick Robin this year. Rick Robin, R-O-B-B-E-N, NapaConstruction.com. Rick, the last time you were on with us, you told us about kitchen and bath remodeling, but there's a lot more going on up in your area.
Yes, there is. ADUs, auxiliary dwelling units, which are known as granny units. We can do your existing garage, attached garage, even building a new unit in the back. And so what we do is come out, bring our architect out there. Such a great thing. No sewer hookup fees, no water hookup fees. So that's what we do.
Rick, how does one start the process with you? How does one get in touch with you?
So you call Tammy, 707-332-7575, 7 days a week.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com. Rick, the thing I like about this, no problem for me. You come out with the plans, the permits, everything is in-house, no fees, and you get a new unit that you can rent out and get money back on your investment right away. I like it, Rick.
Thanks, Marty. Love talking to you.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com.
Look through the window of the original Joe's on North Beach and you'll see two guys at the counter talking ball. Time for you to listen in to their conversation. Marty Laurie and the SF Chronicles' Bruce Jenkins are looking through the window of baseball. Sponsored by Original Joe's of North Beach and Westlake on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
People like Horace Stoneham who care so much, that when they trade me in '66 to St. Louis, Horace called me on Monday crying. He told Orlando, I don't want to trade you. So San Francisco Giants in my heart. I'm so lucky that I'm still working, for the team. I want to say thank you to Larry Bear, to Peter McGowan, to Bob Leary, because they brought me back to baseball.
Yes.
So I'm a blessed person.
I love it. Bruce Jenkins joins us. Bruce, how are you?
Well, good, Marty. Gosh, it's just, it's been rough, hasn't it? I mean, wasn't that long ago you could go down in the clubhouse and you'd see Mays or McCovey or Cepeda, these legends of the game, and they were always around and so friendly and cordial, and you could talk to them, and they're all gone now.
Yeah, just hearing Orlando's voice, and talking about the trade, he never wanted to leave. And the one who got rid of him was Herman Franks. It wasn't Stoneham. Stoneham was crying Monday. He didn't want to trade him. Herman Franks didn't want him. And then that's when they traded Orlando for Ray Sadecki. How about that for a trade?
Oh, my God. Well, that obviously was a huge disaster. But in terms of teams facing a dilemma, I don't know if it gets any tougher than Cepeda and McCovey, because you got to have them both. You just do. And they tried them both in the outfield, and it just didn't work. Both of them were going to have more knee problems. They were both first basemen, just period. And they had to make that call, and it was brutal. And I sure loved what Orlando did in St. Louis in 67, 68. He was invaluable to them. They won the whole thing one of those years, and he wound up, he's 35. He's still hitting ropes for the Red Sox. But for him to leave the Giants was really tough.
Well, and plus, the Cardinals, he was a unanimous MVP. Unanimous in the league.
Yeah.
And, you had Roger Maris in that team, and, obviously Gibson is still there. And
yeah, Brock and Flood, Maris, yeah.
Yeah, come on, unanimous MVP, which was amazing. But the one that jumps out at me is, and first of all, you wrote a beautiful obituary. You covered every aspect of Orlando's life, and that is in the Chronicle today, and I read it online last night. But the World Series of '62, and it's just the most famous moment, I think, in Giants history prior to the 2010 and all that happening. And here it is. It's Game 7, second and third. First base is open. And Ralph Terry, a righty. Now think of baseball today. Twitter would have blown up. Ralph Terry, a righty, is on the mound, and Ralph Houck goes out to him and says, "Who do you want to face, McCovey, the left-handed hitter is coming up, or Cepeda?" And they pitched to Willie McCovey, and he hit the line drive to Bobby Richardson.
Yeah, he couldn't have hit it any harder. I think any time Cepeda saw a right-hander, he knew, he felt like it was going to be a feast.
Yeah.
A lefty, a guy like Bob Veal, who was really wild and nutty, that might be a tougher assignment, or, say Koufax, to say the least. But, who knows? We all loved seeing McCovey hit there, and then he hit the heck out of it. But I'd love to know what Cepeda would have done there. So many things went into that inning. Mays hits the double down the right field line. It's kind of a muddy field, and Maris has the great arm, but you want to hold Matty Alou at third, which turned out to be really costly, but was probably the smart move. But all these things, all these iconic Giants came into play that day, and Ralph Terry winds up being the hero.
Come on, they chose to pitch to the lefty, and if that happened today, the TV would explode. Something would. You couldn't do it today.
You'd see a couple of heads rolling across your TV screen.
No, the manager would be packing his bag as he left the mound. Doing that. But that was Orlando. That's how he was feared. But he and I used to do the names back and forth, and and it's the end of an era for me. There aren't many people who I can do that with. Tito Fuentes is one I can come up with, names from the 50s. And Tito's a great student of the game. I love Tito. But Orlando, I'd say, Mel Roach, Kuno Barrigan. And you go, catcher, Cubs, And
you could throw out Cal Jader. Cal Jader, always the best on vibraphones, man.
And he loved the music.
That's what I say, He was very knowledgeable, liked to go out and dance a little bit, and San Francisco was a haven for great jazz then, and he really thought he'd found a home.
Yeah, Rick Swig was his buddy with the Cuban music and everything, and they really enjoyed that together. Yeah, he was just a wonderful baseball player, solid. I did shows with him about hitting homers in Wrigley Field. Yeah, he had homers up on that scoreboard, in dead center field, and he did it a few times. Very, very powerful player.
Best off-field power I've ever seen. A lot of players have done that. J.D. Martinez is doing it now. Mike Piazza was great, but to me, Cepeda was the king of opposite field power. He had such a beautiful swing. When he went that way, you could tell when he was absolutely going that way on a pitch that was a little bit away from him. And needless to say, he could hit the ball out anywhere. But I remember seeing him in an old-timers game, and he was an old-timer. It took him about an hour to get to the plate, but sure enough, he singled to right,
Well, let's face it, he came up in the mid-50s, and, he was in the minor leagues in St. Cloud and places like that. He was so homesick that he wanted to go home, and they said, no, you got to stay. And he was there with McCovey when McCovey came with the little blue cap on off the bus to the tryout camp and all that. So Orlando is a Giant all the way, and he'll always – and look, he's got a statue in front of the park. How about that?
Yeah. Well, it's a wonderful thing that he's the second Puerto Rican, which is damn near close to being the first, considering that Clemente was the first. Mm-hmm. And I just felt so privileged, Marty, to be in the audience when he was inducted at Cooperstown. The Chronicle sent me back there, and
nice.
to see the passion in his face and his voice, and to hear his thoughts about, what he saw touring the Cooperstown Museum, and that was very, very special.
Mm. Yeah, one of the things I enjoyed, and I mentioned in my open, John Shea, when he was doing the book 24, didn't have access to Orlando for some reason. And, of course, I had visited Orlando numerous times, and I took John out there to see him. And that's where he did his interview for Orlando for the book. And I know John was very appreciative. But Orlando, he was so open to people, and he was the most cooperative guy I've ever met. Really?
Yeah, my wife Martha was a Giants team photographer for 20 years and loved chatting up the older guys. And Cepeda, she had a real soft spot for him. He's so very nice to her, to both of us. Just the warmest encounters and talking about whatever it might be. And he remembered your kid's name and stuff like that. And it's a real tough one for us, and for all Giants fans.
Yep. And this with Willie. It's the end of an era, as I say. I mean, I have Tito. Tito's the only one I could say, on whole school, and it'll go Sugar Kings, 1959, Tito's about the only one that I could do this with. And
it's a good thing you're still with us, Marty, because you keep it going.
I better take my temperature today, check my blood pressure, see how I'm doing. Yeah, it's true. There's that part of baseball that you want the connections to the generations. And for Orlando and Willie, they were connections for us to that golden era of baseball. So it is a loss. It really is a loss. So I'm glad that you wrote the obit for it. Fans, if you haven't read it, pick it up at the Chronicle. It's very complete, and you did it with a lot of love, Bruce. So I'm glad you did that. Very good.
Appreciate it.
Very
I think won't be in print till tomorrow with our ridiculous deadlines, but it is online right now on sfchronicle.com. Excuse me.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's what I saw it last night. What did you think of Birdsong the other night?
Very intriguing. I like his mound presence. He's at times he looked like a kid, just facially, maybe a little nervous, but basically no. He's got really good stuff. He threw, nasty breaking pitches on difficult counts. Lots and lots of good moments. I think everybody felt that way. It was not 100% great, but you can just some guys go out there and they might pitch pretty well, but they don't really move you much. Like that. Gee, I don't know if that's going to be sustainable. And who knows with this kid, but I thought he was impressive.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of time and experience because he's throwing 97, 98 effortlessly. It just comes out of his hand. Yeah. And then he's all of a sudden freezing you with a breaking ball. So once he, commands that and has the confidence to throw it all the time, I think he's legit. And Woe said it. Woe said the stuff is real. He's the real deal.
Yeah, I'm really glad, Wotus and Melvin and everybody feels that way about him because they would love to have him just come into the rotation and take a regular turn. Lord knows they need it.
What did you think of the game last night?
Well, it was really fun. I mean, Brett Wisely, you think about this guy, he was a 15th round draft pick in 2019 with Tampa Bay, and he didn't do much there. The Giants got him for Tristan Peters. That's how they got Brett Wisely in November of 22, and here he is. They showed some faith in him, and I think slowly he's won the fans over. He's a real solid guy, solid fielder, solid hitter. And then the last night was, that a legendary moment for him. I mean, just crushing it out to beat the Dodgers. Come on. I mean, but I've definitely warmed to him. At first, I thought this guy's a major leaguer, but I don't know really where he fits, if he's going to play much for this team. But right now, he's been given his chance, and he's going to be in there, indefinitely.
Yeah, I thought he did well at short as well. And They need Ahmed. I will say that Ahmed makes enough plays.
Yeah.
You need a shortstop. You just do. And they need him. But Wisely's a good backup. And, as I've had him on the show, and as I said, he's one of, I think, 9 kids or 8 kids or something like that. He's the youngest. So, he had a scrap for everything in his life. And he plays that way. I think he's a big find for the Giants. I like what he's doing. I do.
I think if he makes enough plays, he could play pretty regularly. I mean, Ahmed doesn't hit much. He'll have a surprise moment or two, but I agree he's superior to Wisely defensively. But there's something about Ahmed doesn't move the needle for the fans. It's sort of like Slater and these veteran guys. They just rather see the youngsters in there. You'd rather see Matos, and Ramos. For heaven's sake, he's in there probably to stay, but we'll see. Wisely needs to make plays. He doesn't need to pull a Luciano in the 9th inning.
No, not at all. No, he's got a good arm. The one that I'm really enjoying, I must tell you, is Chapman. I tell you, Bruce, he got off to a slow start, and he's a tough out, and he's not getting beat by the fastball all the time now. But boy, defensively, come on. I mean, the ball is hit to that side, and you just write down 5-3.
It really is just ridiculously fun. Even when he makes a tough play to his left or his right, an off-balance throw, doesn't have his feet underneath him, the throw is it's almost always just right there. And I like it's not, generally not on a bounce. That's the one-hop throw has become pretty popular, especially for guys who are off balance and they just want to get it over there. But he's got a rocket arm, and you think about him as an all-star. He certainly would look good in the game. People wouldn't be saying what's he doing in there. It's probably he's got Bohm ahead of him, Machado and Ryan McMahon, and even Arenado and Riley are coming on now a little bit. It'll be tough, but he's been good. It's super fun to watch.
Yeah, that's a good point, and it's a good segue for Webb. He may have a tough time becoming an all-star. They take, I think, a dozen pitchers, and 3 of them are bullpen guys. So when you look at it, I mean, Webb's leading the league in innings pitched, and last night he was an ace, I thought. I thought last night that was like the Webb of the playoff game.
Yeah, to me, I mean, the Giants will have to have somebody, and they've got Bailey and Duvall are good candidates. Ramos might be a little too late, but to me, Webb is just he's an automatic. I feel the same way about Skeens with Pittsburgh for entirely different reasons. Who's just come onto the scene, but Webb he's just terrific. Like I say, leading the league in innings pitched. He's setting standards that are increasingly hard to meet in the bigs. Like he'll go 7. It's like, what? He really went 7, and he'll go 9 before this year is over. He's just he looks the part. He acts the part. He performs. I just can't imagine him not on the All-Star team. It's a pretty good list. It's always an impressive list. We got Zach Wheeler and Glasnow and Imanaga, all these guys, but I want Webb in there.
Yeah, and plus, he is the guy for the Giants on a Giants team that has a rotation of 2.
Yeah.
So every time he comes up, you better win. And
That's right.
There's pressure to do that, and he's living up to it. And he does it every time he takes the ball. So I think from that standpoint, I think he's become the ace in a time when you're on a losing streak, whatever, where you better give 6 or 7. And let me give you the list that Ken Rosenthal put out today or yesterday of the pitchers. He's got Suarez, Glasnow, Gray. Helsley's got 29 saves. One more, he ties the record of Lee Smith before the All-Star game.
29 straight.
Yeah, I think the first one of the year he blew, but he won the game. And
right.
Now he's good. Yeah. Imanaga, Fried, Ronaldo Lopez, we may see him next week. Chris Sale, we may see him next week. Then Scott of the Marlins, because you got to have a Marlin. Skeens. Then
Definitely.
Suarez.
Way to go, Kenny.
Yeah, Suarez, the closer for San Diego, and Wheeler. So he doesn't have Logan Webb on there. It's a tough one.
That is tough. I don't recoil at the mention of any of those guys. I really don't.
Rangers Suarez. You can. What can you say? And we get to see Glasnow today. This is interesting too, Bruce, because this guy's never pitched this many innings, and
I know.
He's got an 0.87 WHIP, and he's gonna throw curveballs at you, and then he'll come back with 99.
Yeah, they've been talking about, ideally they'd give him 5 days rest, and this team can do that. Just like we're doing with Yamamoto, who's hurt right now. But when you get into the playoffs, all of a sudden, whoa, forget that. I mean, you're going to have to throw a lot more often, and who knows if he's still healthy by then. But he's a tremendous pitcher. I mean, he's got phenomenal stuff. The Giants will be up against it today.
Yeah, Eric Miller goes today, and then Spencer Howard, as Mark Simon says, probably comes behind them today.
I love the Giants. They go into the Cubs series. They didn't know who's pitching any of the first 3 games, but they win 3 of the 4 games.
I know. Well, the Cubs are the new Rockies. When you're not
terrible.
doing well and you need a prescription, they say play the Rockies. They're going to change it to play the Cubs.
Yeah, they look really bad.
Yeah, they've got 45 losses already. San Diego's starting to, become interesting. I don't know if you saw Profar this week. Did you see the incident that he had?
Yeah, well, he's a very demonstrative guy, and he got a little too excited over a walk-off hit that he got against Washington.
Right.
And the catcher, I forget who it was, had a big problem with him, and the bench is empty and everything.
Was it Ruiz?
Yeah.
Ruiz. Yeah.
Yeah. Then he comes back the next day and gets another big hit. He's going to start in the outfield.
Yes.
For the National League. I mean, you don't have Acuna and Betts is even playing the outfield, and a lot of guys aren't there that you would expect to be there. But Profar is a big part of that. Plus, did you notice what Donovan Solano's doing for the Padres?
Come on, Donnie Barrels.
You always knew he could hit, right? He's playing second base. He hit cleanup one day for them, but he's hitting in the 280s. He got a big hit yesterday, and pretty cool.
Yeah, the Padres are separating a little bit from the crowd, I think. I
do too.
I like the way they're playing. I like the way the manager is. That guy's a tough guy. The manager,
yes.
Mike Schilt. Yeah, he is. He did well in St. Louis until he knocked heads with the general manager about analytics and stuff like that, and they got rid of him. And I think he landed in a good spot. And he's different than Bob Melvin, and they needed that. They needed the difference. One more thing. Reynolds of Pittsburgh. Bruce, this is Brian Reynolds, who the Giants had, and they traded for McCutchen, I think. That was the trade.
Yeah.
He's hitting 24 straight.
Yeah. He's a really good player, really good outfielder. He's been very good with the Pirates for years and doesn't get a lot of notice. He's a guy who might crack the all-star outfield. But, yeah, I mean, trading Reynolds for McCutchen, that's not so bad. I mean, McCutchen is still playing, and he's a tremendous, tremendous guy to have on your team, but he was with the Giants for like 5 minutes, and there went that.
Yeah. I'll give you Kenny's outfield, Kenny Rosenthal. Teoscar Hernandez, Profar, Yelich, and Reynolds. That's it.
Yeah, boy, that's a new day in the outfield, isn't it? I mean,
that's not exactly Mays, Aaron, and Clemente.
No, geez, no, not at all. So that's a good list. I think Jazz Chisholm could sneak in there as Miami's guy.
Yes, he could.
How about Jackson Merrill of the Padres?
Yeah, that's a good one. Hey, Jackson Merrill could be Rookie of the Year and MVP. Who knows?
He's a heck of a player.
Well, there are good baseball stories. That's why I love to do this with you, because no one else really, gets into baseball. But Jonathan India of the Reds, Bruce, in the last 7 games, the guy's 15 for 25.
Yeah, that's going to be tough for him as far as the All-Star. I really like him. He's a spark plug, but second base, I don't know. You got Arias and Bryce Terang and Ketel Marte and Cronenworth. I don't know if he fits in there, but yeah, I like watching the India play. Yep.
You just nailed the second. He's got Marte and Terang as his second baseman in there. All right, boy, good stuff. All right, very quickly, there is the great historical note today. The great Dave Stewart and Fernando, and I think I saw these games on TV. They both threw no-hitters on the same day.
There were 8 no-hitters thrown that year, the most ever in a single season, and these guys do it on the same day. Stewart, it was a Friday night in Toronto, and I'm sure Toronto's like, oh, my God, this guy again, because the year before, in '89, that great A's team, he beat Toronto twice in the ALCS and was MVP. Now he comes back with a no-hitter. He got, Ricky Henderson homered in that game behind him, Dave Henderson homered, and Stu, he's up against, George Bell and Fred McGriff and Olerud, pretty good club, Tony Fernandez, and Tony La Russa said Stu was so scary, and when he was on a roll, he goes, he looks like Nolan Ryan when it gets to the last few innings. He just smells it. He just turns it up. It's like it's over. And then you get Fernando, who was not, unlike Stewart, was not at his peak at all. His peak was 81 to 86 pretty much, and this was his last full season with the Dodgers. He'd been shelled in the previous start, and he's up against the annoying Cardinals of Vince Coleman and McGee and Pedro Guerrero and Pendleton and the dreaded Jose Oquendo, and he no-hits them because he just had that magic. He could always do something. He could do something when he was 48 and surprise the heck out of you.
Yeah, and the same day. Dave Henderson was playing center field, as you say, homered in that game. The last out goes up. It's a fly ball, and I think he told me the story. Ricky Henderson tries to catch it, but Hendu wants to catch it so he can be on TV forever, catching the last out of the no-hitter, and I think he cuts in front of Ricky to catch the ball. It's a whole story with that, but that's the way Hendu was. Good man, Dave Henderson.
Yeah.
All right, that's good stuff. All right, Bruce, have a good afternoon. Again, for folks who didn't read the obit, go online at the Chronicle, and, of course, it'll be in the print part tomorrow that Bruce wrote. It's really good about Orlando. So have a good afternoon, Bruce.
Thanks, Marty. Really appreciate it. We'll talk tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. All right, more coming up. Jesse Agler, he's the play-by-play voice of the San Diego Padres. He's next right here on the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Fans, for great baseball gear, check out Baseballism. The store is located at 3rd and King opposite the ballpark. Whether it's jackets, shirts, hats, you name it, Baseballism is the most unique store I've seen. It is the best. 3rd and King, right opposite the ballpark. Fans, it's great to have you back with us as we get ready for Giants baseball. We're joined by Grant Power, the president and CEO of Nations. Grant, we love talking to you about Nations and about Nations during the summer. Of course, the spring, the fall. It is summertime. What's new at Nations in the summer?
We don't change the menu too much throughout the year, but the biggest thing that always stands out in the summer is that we do not believe in frozen strawberries. We've had the same supplier down in Ventura County for, I think, 35 years at this point. To get fresh strawberries on your breakfast, whether that's French toast or pancakes, and most importantly, to get fresh strawberries on your cheesecake pie or your strawberry tarts really stands out. The other item that, for whatever reason, seems to spike in the summer is our wild salmon. Our wild salmon burger is amazing, one of my favorite items on the menu. People sometimes forget that you can sub in the wild salmon on your Nation's breakfast if you want wild salmon filet instead of the bacon or the sausage. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's people being on the water or boating or the warmer weather, but strawberries and the salmon, those are probably the two biggest summer highlights.
Well, I love it. All right, Grant, you're making me hungry. Thanks for being on. We'll talk to you again.
Always a privilege. You take care, Marty.
That's Grant Power, President, CEO of Nations.
Orange and Black family, the godfather of Giants baseball, now continues. This is Talkin' Baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR, the sports leader.
Couple of things I want to mention. Georgie Brothers Furniture, in South City, that 50,000 square foot showroom is full of over 150 wonderful carpets, window coverings, and furniture manufacturers. They've got everything, but stressless. Those are the chairs I love, and I have them right here in the house. But starting June 21st and running all the way until August 5th, so it's on now, there's a new stressless promotion, on-the-spot summer savings. That's really cool. You can receive an instant rebate for $100 for every $1,000 spent. The 10% savings is incredible. So visit the showroom in South San Francisco, and you can check out the different recliners and all the things at Georgie Brothers around the stressless chairs. They are so comfortable, and they're good for your back, too. But it is one of the biggest sales that they have during the year, so check it out. If you want to go online, that's Georgie Brothers, GIORGIBROS.com. That's GIORGIBROS.com. And remember to tell them that I sent you. So Georgie Brothers. But the Stressless Furniture Gallery is special. And I'm telling you, those chairs are very healthy. They're good for you. All right. One other thing. Woe and I, we have that appearance on July 8th up in Yountville at the Priest Ranch Wine Tasting Room. And that's going to be from 5:30 to 7:30. So Woe and I will be talking baseball. And, of course, the Giants Memorial is that time at Oracle for Willie. So if you're not going to that and you're up in the Yountville area, come by. The admission is $25. You get a glass of wine. You can take our picture. We'll sign an autograph and all those kinds of things. But we're going to talk about Willie Mays and about Orlando Cepeda. So that's our chance to do our memorial for both of them. So if you come up to Yountville, the Priest Ranch Wine Tasting Room, July 8th, 5:30 to 7:30, Ron Wotus and I will be up there, and we will talk about Willie and talk about Orlando. And I'm really glad to have the opportunity to do that for both of them. And I know Woe is, too. He was on TV last night. He did a great job, and he'll be with us tomorrow morning, 9:15 as well. All right, Jesse Agler. He joins us. He is the play-by-play voice of the San Diego Padres. He's in Fenway Park. It's Padres and Boston Red Sox today. Jesse, how are you?
Good, Marty. How are you?
Doing well. And, I wanted to have you on. First of all, you're in Boston. The Padres game 2 of the series with the Red Sox. Padres, a big win last night. You'll have to explain the 5th inning to me if you can. But today, it's King against Hawk, Tanner Hawk for the Red Sox. That's a pretty good matchup.
Yeah, it is. And, King's obviously got some familiarity with the place from his Yankee days. And Hawk is throwing, I think, about as well as anybody maybe in the American League right now. When you dive into the numbers, it's not just the ERA, but he does a really good job missing bats. He does a really good job getting soft contact and ground balls. And Padres probably playing their best baseball of 2024 right now. They certainly are in terms of wins and losses. There are 4 games over 500 for the first time this year, winners of 8 out of their last 9. And so kind of a good challenge for them to try and keep the good times rolling, because there's really been no doubt it's been the offense that's led the way in the last week and a half for this team. And that includes that inning you mentioned last night when they put up 9 runs. their second 9-run inning of the season. They're the only team in baseball who's done that more than once this year.
So tell me about a 9-run inning. I think the first 9 batters reached. How about that? What did you and Tony think about that?
Yeah, no, we think very highly of it. We we enjoyed watching it. Yeah, not only 9 guys on, 9 guys scored before there was an out, which is something I don't think I've ever seen in a baseball game before. Only the 3rd time I think in Padre history that they've pulled that off. And it's just sort of kind of the peak version of what we've seen out of this offense all year. When they're going right, they're stringing hits together. They're kind of passing the baton. They're not trying to do too much. I think, when you look back at last year's Padre teams and some of the struggles they had with runners in scoring position and in close games, they really weren't able to do that on a consistent basis. And this year they've done a phenomenal job of it. I think they've got about as many crooked number innings as any team in baseball this year. And again, yesterday, a little bit of an extreme example, obviously, but that is what they are. That's sort of what they're built to be. That's what they're coached to be. And there's some pop in there. Don't get me wrong. They hit 2 home runs in the inning, including a 3-run shot by Jackson Merrill that pretty much sealed the deal. But they've done a really, really nice job this year when they're going right of kind of having that sort of approach.
Well, they're 7.5 back of the Dodgers, and it's still half a season to go. But one of the reasons I want to have you on, I'm watching these games, and I'm listening to you guys on the radio. I'm watching the highlights on Quick Pitch afterwards, and I'm seeing a team that fights. They literally fight. Profar and Machado got into it last week. But there's something about this team that separates them from this other big pack of teams chasing this wild card. Do you agree with that?
I do, and if you're going to ask me to explain why, I don't think I could give you a perfectly clean answer, but I would say 2 things. One, I think the experience of last year that I just referred to was part of it. There's enough guys who were here and sort of a part of that failure, to understand it's got to be a little bit different. They've got to show a little bit more, I don't know if determination is the right word, but they got to show a little bit more fight at times. And then, there's a guy you mentioned, Jurickson Profar. He started last year with Colorado, played most of the season for them. He's one of these clubhouse guys. He's one of these true leader guys. And, when the Padres picked him up at the end of last year, and remember, he'd had some previous success with the Padres in, 20 and 21 and 22. And then, they got him at the end of last year after Colorado released him. And the Padres went 16-5 with Jurickson Profar on the roster. Now, they were pretty much out of it at that point, not mathematically the whole time, but pretty much out of it in the National League. And we would sort of tongue-in-cheek say, hey, they keep winning games, ever since Profar came back. And now here we are more than halfway mathematically through this season, and I don't think maybe we should have been so tongue-in-cheek about it, or I shouldn't have been. I think Jurickson Profar's presence, obviously the fact that he's swinging the bat literally at an MVP level is a big part of it, but the fact that, he's in there every single day and, in some ways kind of setting the tone and the personality of this team, I don't think it can be overlooked. He has been a critical piece for this team. Again, not only on the field with the numbers he's put up, but also in the clubhouse as well.
Well, the thing this week, he gets hit, I think it was against the Nationals, and then Manny comes up right behind him and knocks one out, and then Profar comes back later in the game and hits a slam. But it's the spirit. There's just something about that spirit that I see when this stuff happens.
No doubt about it. I mean, and it's been really fun. Look, the other thing that should be mentioned here is this team is striking out less than any team in baseball, which was very much not the case a year ago. Now, Luis Arraez to the mix. Obviously, that's going to help those numbers because he hardly ever swings and misses, much less strikes out. But they're just sort of generally playing a different brand of baseball this year. There's an attitudinal adjustment. I think there's an on-field adjustment. There are guys that have had swing adjustments. And, the way it's gone so far, I'm really, really impressed. I think they're a good team. I think they're a playoff team. They haven't really clicked on all cylinders yet. They're dealing with a bunch of injuries. Remember, they're doing this right now, this great run. No Joe Musgrove, no Yu Darvish, no Fernando Tatis Jr., no Xander Bogaerts. And I'm probably forgetting somebody off the top of my head. But, no Luis Campusano, the guys the starting catcher at the beginning of the year. But they've got depth, and they've, like I said, kind of got this attitude of, whatever it takes to get it done.
Boy, very well said. I was just going to ask you about the pitching, but you analyzed it with Darvish out and Musgrove out. Other people have to stand up. And last night, Vasquez, I guess he got hit by a line drive. He came out, but King has pitched well. And how about the knuckleballer, Waldron?
Yeah, that's a fun story. It'd be a fun story if he hadn't been the most consistent starter on this staff, but he has. And, he's a guy who, as you might imagine, spent a lot of time kind of studying Tim Wakefield and talked to Tim Wakefield on Zoom a couple of times, had the opportunity to sort of learn from him. And, I'm here in the back of our booth at Fenway right now looking up at the number 49 in a navy blue heart, above the green monster in Wakefield's honor. And Waldron's going to pitch here tomorrow. I know that's going to be a really special and probably emotional day for him. But, yeah, it's been a great story. He has pitched really, really well. And there was a time not that long ago when he was the only guy giving them, sort of consistent innings out of the starting rotation. As a couple of these other guys were kind of going through some tough times and others finding their footing, Waldron was putting together, it felt like 7 innings after 7 innings every time he went out there. And that was critically important because they just wrapped up this crazy stretch of, 26 games in 27 days. And obviously when you got a bunch of starters who aren't getting out of the 5th inning, which was the case, that can really put you behind the 8 ball with the bullpen. But then every 5th day, Matt Waldron was out there giving them, length and quality in the rotation. So can't say enough about how well he's pitched this year.
Yeah, I don't think the Padres are going away. I think the Dodgers better keep their eye on them. I really do. As I say, I like what I see on the field, and I like what I see in the dugout as well. But you have the lucky charm. You've got the best guy ever, and that's Donnie Barrels, Donovan Solano. Come on, he's playing great.
He is playing great, and you know what? They've even, kind of let him start some games against right-handed pitching. He's a guy that I think traditionally the last couple of years was seen as a platoon bat, against left-handed starters. But, he's played third base as Machado kind of, still navigates his way around a couple injuries. He's DH'd. He played a little bit of first earlier. And, he fits that whole sort of thing that we talked about earlier with the lack of strikeouts and the pass-the-baton offensive approach. He fits it beautifully. They've been really – it's impressive. They've been very intentional about the kinds of guys they've added to this roster this year. Profar is a tough at-bat. Solano is a tough at-bat. Arise, obviously, maybe as tough an at-bat as there is in all of baseball. And so, that's a third of the lineup right there on a lot of nights. And then you mix in guys like Merrill Cronenworth and Machado and Tatis when he's healthy. That's no fun to navigate if you're an opposing starter.
Boy, I'm glad you're mentioning all my things that I want to talk about here. That's Jackson Merrill. And look, he still hits down in the lineup. And Mark Simon today told us about the Giants' number 8 hitters, the best on the team. And you look at Jackson Merrill, he's batting towards the end of the lineup, and this kid could be Rookie of the Year, and he's an MVP candidate.
He has been not only as advertised, but I think he's exceeded the expectations that a lot of people had for him. Certainly not his own. He is as confident a human being as I've maybe ever encountered, and that's saying something working in professional sports. But none of this surprises him. The fact that he's hitting 280-something doesn't surprise him. The fact that he's near the team lead in home runs doesn't surprise him. The fact that he's, playing a pretty good center field, though he's not a center fielder, that doesn't surprise him. He's just supremely and ultimately confident, and it's been pretty remarkable watching him go out there. He has not really had a rookie slump yet. You sort of kind of wait for it to happen at some point, and it probably will. But he's been steady Eddie. He's produced more and more, really, as the season has gone along. And, you're right. If he continues this up the rest of the year, and that's a big ask, don't get me wrong, but if he continues it like this, you're absolutely right, I think, that it's going to be not just Rookie of the Year consideration that he's getting.
Yeah, absolutely. Jesse Agler with us. Always great to just catch up with you, Jesse, and just hear your voice. And, boy, you had a great home run call the other night. Tell me about
it. We've had a lot of crazy ones. But, yeah, I think the Profar Slam is probably the one.
Come on, that was fabulous.
That everybody's been talking about. It was an interesting night. It was an interesting couple of days. And, it was sort of like the sort of culmination, I guess, of all the craziness. And, yeah, it was a lot of fun. He went up there after all the craziness earlier in that game and getting hit by the pitch, and Keibert Ruiz, kind of pointing in his chest and trying to start something, and he wasn't going to take the bait. He even said afterwards, he goes, hey, look, Fernando just went on the injured list. I can't get ejected. I can't get suspended. So he went up there, being the bigger man, even in a situation where I think a lot of guys might have snapped a little bit. And then, ultimate revenge later in the game to be able to hit not just a big home run, but a grand slam against the Nationals. It was a cool moment to be a little bit of a part of, no doubt about it.
Yeah, you got into it. Very, very good. If you didn't hear that one, fans, you want to listen to Jesse's call in that one. The other one, Jess, is Mike Schilt. Again, in St. Louis, successful, probably had some issue with the general manager, what have you. And then, of course, he's here in San Diego. Bob Melvin's gone. This is another guy. He has a certain attitude when I watch him that it looks like it transcends right into the team.
Yeah, there's an edge to him that,
Right.
you know, I think he's always had. You know, if you watched him manage in St. Louis, I don't think this would surprise you, but he's an old school guy. You know, he came up in that Cardinal system. Forget, you know, starting his career, you know, as a non-player, which is not an easy thing to do, and you know, not to be a professional baseball player, but to end up as a manager. It's a very short list of guys who have ever done that. And so, you know, there's maybe a chip that goes along with that. And then further, you know, kind of came up old school, high school coach, college coach, scout, and then working in the Cardinal organization, you know, and really learning and being taught by some, you know, very long time old school guys in that organization. And, you know, he talks about being a minor league manager and getting to his office after the game. And it was like, you know, you'll appreciate this, sort of like law school Socratic method Q&A, you know, after every single game, like, hey, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Why didn't you do this? And he said, you know, at first he was like, why are these guys questioning everything I'm doing? And eventually he realized, you know, it was all just sort of part of the learning process. So he's got that old school edge to him that, as you said, fits this team very nicely. And again, you know, every year is different. And you go back to last year and sort of the failures that they had. I think everybody who is back, and remember, Schilt was around the last couple of years, just not managing, you know, they understood that there probably needed to be a little bit more of an edge. That's not always going to be the case. That's not a knock on Bob Melvin. It's just for this year's team, for the 2024 Padres. I think everybody who was around realized, you know what, a little bit more of that is probably a good thing. And Mike's a nice fit, you know, as far as it comes to that.
When it's working. Last one for you. When are some of the injured guys coming back, especially Tatis?
I would guess, you know, All-Star break-ish for Tatis. Bogarts, you know, also maybe right after the break. I think that's probably the best-case scenario for those guys. Darvish could be before that. You know, I think Musgrove maybe after the All-Star break. But, you know, a lot of these ones are kind of the nebulous, tricky ones that aren't so easy to sort of, you know, figure out. So it's wait-and-see mode. You know, I'm tempted to say it's tread water mode, but again, they're playing, I think, their best baseball of the year right now. So they've been doing more than treading water. You know, they're going against the current, but they're certainly making some progress. But, you know, like I said, this really tough stretch calendar-wise is over now. They got a lot more off days between now and the All-Star break, which should, you know, I think help in terms of like a physical and a mental reset.
Boy, Jess, great to have you with us. Pleasure having you on. Enjoy Fenway, and we'll catch up later. Thank you.
Always my pleasure, Marty.
Okay, that is Jesse Agler, play-by-play voice of the San Diego Padres. More coming up. KNBR 680, 104.5.
Talking baseball
leader.
with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Just a quick note about the rooftop restaurant at the Via Hotel, the Hotel Via across the street from the park. They do a wide variety of events on the rooftop, from weddings and birthdays to corporate retreats and special events, holiday events, and any other special occasion you can think of. With stunning 360 views of the skyline, Bay Bridge, East Bay, and of course Oracle Park, the rooftop at Via is truly one of the most unique event venues in San Francisco.
Giants fans, there's no better way to set the game day table than talking baseball with Marty Laurie. Marty keeps rolling on KNBR, the sports leader.
Right, great call by Dwayne, and that was it yesterday. Giants won 5-3 over the Dodgers. Game 2 today, Tyler Glasnow, he's terrific, against Eric Miller, the left-hander. Lefty's hitting 130 off of Eric Miller. He will be the opener today. Sandra G. had a chance to talk with Spencer Howard as well as Elliot Ramos, and Raf and I are going to put that on loveofthegameproductions.com or the KNBR website, so you can hear it there as well. Got a nice text from Rich Waltz, one of the best broadcasters in the business. Saw him in Rickwood, and of course he does a lot of the MLB games, the special games they have during the week. And Rich says, yeah, the Priest Ranch Wines tasting room sounds pretty good. PriestRanchWines.com. Check it out online, and you can find out more of the appearance of Woe and I on July 8th. We're going to talk about Willie and Orlando on those dates. The last one. It's always fun to do this, and on Twitter, I love to interact. And David Parmley says, Matt Chapman, a tough out? Except for a one-week tear, he's essentially a 225 hitter, not a run producer, though hitting consistently, 4th or 5th. His defense has not been as platinum as advertised, and he's 15th of 17 qualifying third sackers in fielding percentage. Well, David, use the eye test. You tell me who you'd rather have at third defensively than Matt Chapman. Okay, that's number one. Number two, the whole league's hitting about 240. He's got 10 homers, 35 RBIs. We just passed the halfway point. And he is a tough out. But I say just watch him. And that's why I like him at third base. But that's the fun of Twitter. So I appreciate the tweet. And those are the things we used to have fun with on the post-game show. All right, Walter Icabosetta is coming up. Back with you tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock for us tomorrow morning. My dear friend Orlando, for the whole Giants community, may you rest in peace. We love you. And we'll never forget you. All right. Walter coming up with our Giants warm-up right now on KNBR 680, 104.5, the sports leader.
Seam heads, start cracking those peanuts and spitting those seeds, because gloves are soon to be popping.
He makes a headlong dive and makes the catch.
And bats are going to get cracking.
Blast one! Deep right field! Gone!
Welcome to KNBR's Giants warm-up.
Way back there! Goodbye!
On the sports leader.
What's up, Giants fans, and welcome to the Giants warm-up show. I'm your host, Walter Icabosetta, getting you ready for Game 2 of the final series between the Giants and the Dodgers in San Francisco. It is the last weekend of June. That is a weird sentence to say, but welcome everybody to the Giants warm-up show, again on KNBR, the sports leader. We are also live on YouTube and Twitch. I see the chat going crazy already. Michael, Pine Needle, Victor, Greg, they're all in there. Eb is here. Yeah, he's there. I see you guys. But the Giants are that was a hell of a game last night. We just have to officially welcome Matt Chapman, Luis Matos, Brett Wisely to the rivalry, because that was just an incredible game last night with the Giants and the Dodgers. It was a back and forth affair, and Brett Wisely sending everyone home happy. We'll play that highlight later in the show, but it was a great game. The Giants, they go into Game 2. First pitch is at 4:15, so we'll take you all the way up to the official pregame at 3:15. We'll talk to Dave, I assume, Raf, but we'll be talking about that game last night and just how the Giants have persevered over this past week after the last 2 weeks, because last night we had the sudden passing of another Giants legend, another Giants great, Orlando Cepeda. And we'll talk about Cepeda here in a little bit. And 808 KNBR is the number if you have any thoughts on Orlando Cepeda, or if you want to talk Giants ball, talk Giants Dodgers, we can open up the phone lines on that as well. But we will get into Orlando. But with the Giants looking at this starting rotation, or I guess it would be lack thereof of starting rotation, the bullpen has really locked it down over the last 8 games. They've pitched 37 innings, ERA just above 3, but 47 strikeouts over that span. And we've had bullpen games, and that's something that when you look back to the Giants team of a year ago, that's something that was coming up with regularity, was bullpen games and spot starters and openers and all that kind of stuff. And now, I mean, it is something that is more apt to happen for the Giants in this year because of all of the injuries. And we will have injury update on some key guys that were making some rehab starts yesterday with Blake Snell and Robbie Ray. We will have an update on Alex Cobb as well. So you have the reinforcements coming, but the fact that this stretch of games for the Giants that they were going to endure, I mean, going back to the Rickwood game into the St. Louis series, the Giants have just been banged up since Kyle Harrison landed on the IL, and you follow that up with, or before that, it was Blake Snell, and just the Giants rotation was being just falling apart, and they came into this key stretch, this key homestand, playing the Cubs, and then they have the Dodgers, and then even more so, you have the Braves coming up next week, and then you finish off that road trip in Cleveland. So this is a huge stretch of games. Positive note, Kyle Harrison does look like he will be throwing a bullpen and will be ready to go for the next road trip. So that is a huge development story there for the Giants as they look. But this bullpen has done everything that they can do. They have been the most taxed bullpen in Major League Baseball. And the fact that they were able to go out there being used heavily and continue to put out solid outings, and that's what we're up against today. Tyler Glasnow is on the mound for the Los Angeles Dodgers, and for the Giants, you got Eric Miller as the opener. And I would assume that it'd be Spencer Howard. He hasn't pitched since the 25th. I was thinking it could possibly be Randy Rodriguez, but that might be something that the Giants address for tomorrow. Maybe they go ahead and go with Randy to end the series with the Dodgers. But great game last night. Brett Wisely played hero ball and hit the walk-off homer, just hit an absolute tank to right center field. And it was incredible. I mean, the fact that they were able to do that and pay the respects and get one for Orlando Cepeda. And we'll talk more about the Giants and the Dodgers series here, but 808 KNBR is the number. 808 415 KNBR, 415-808-5627 is the number. Go ahead and give us a call. You can jump in on the YouTube chat as well. But Orlando Cepeda passed away last night during the middle of the game, and Logan Webb was on the mound and was in the middle of the game. I think it was in the 5th inning when it happened. I actually wasn't watching the game live. I watched it afterwards, but I was out at dinner, and a little bit about me just with Orlando Cepeda passing away. My dad didn't grow up from this country. He's from Nicaragua, and he's a huge baseball fan. And a lot of what I know about the Giants and a lot of what I know about the Latin players, the history of the Latin players, and Roberto Clemente, that's like, the pedestal of my baseball fandom. It comes from my dad, and he was talking. He would always talk about Clemente, and he'd always talk about Orlando Cepeda, because when he was growing up, that was what was in the headlines in Nicaragua. That's what you'd see. That's what people would be talking about. You'd be talking about Roberto Clemente. You'd be talking about Orlando Cepeda. And last night, I just happened to be at dinner with my dad, and I saw the news blurb come across my phone, and had to tell my dad. And he was not he did not take it too well. But I just want to get everybody's thoughts on Orlando Cepeda passing, because I mean, this has been a rough stretch for the Giants family. I mean, we lost Willie Mays almost close to 2 weeks ago now, and then now another one with Orlando Cepeda. And Cepeda, I mean, he is, you can't really talk about the history of Giants baseball. San Francisco Giants baseball won the Rookie of the Year in 1958. You can't really talk about Giants without the monuments. I mean, when you walk around Oracle Park, when you walk around this stadium, you see them all around the ballpark. You see Gaylord Perry. You see Juan Marichal, who is the last living, I guess, monument of the statues. When you walk around Oracle Park, you see the Willie McCovey statue. You see Willie Mays, obviously, and then you have Orlando Cepeda right there at second and King, right at that entrance. And it was an incredible moment. I mean, when you talk about Latin history, everyone goes to, especially when you look at Puerto Rican baseball players, everyone looks to Roberto Clemente, but you can't write the history of Latin players. You can't write the history of Puerto Rican baseball without the baby bull, without Orlando Cepeda. I mean, this guy was incredible. He came into the league 3 years after Roberto Clemente. And then I remember reading a book called Clemente, and they would go back to the times that Clemente was playing in the Puerto Rican league. And there was a story where Cepeda was just following around Clemente and just taking notes. And because he was the bat boy for a team in Puerto Rico that featured Roberto Clemente and Willie Mays. I mean, that's just incredible. So when you look at that, just the stats, I mean, they speak for themselves. He had a 7-year period where he averaged 32 home runs, 107 RBIs. That was the beginning of his career. 11-time All-Star, won an MVP and a World Series in the same year, 1967, with the Cardinals. It wasn't a Giant then, but I mean, when you start looking at his home runs and his RBIs, his 379 home runs and 1,365 RBIs, it's fourth amongst Puerto Rican-born players. So 808 KNBR is the number. If you have any thoughts on Roberto Clemente, or not Roberto Clemente, if you have any any thoughts on, if you have thoughts on Roberto Clemente, but if you have any thoughts on Orlando Cepeda, I would love to hear what you have to say. And we will continue to talk about the San Francisco Giants and the Dodgers as this rivalry concludes in San Francisco. This is the last Saturday game for the Giants and the Dodgers in San Francisco, but we'll continue the conversation on Orlando Cepeda. I do want to toss to some thoughts on Bob Melvin that he had after the passing of Orlando Cepeda and the fact that the Giants were able to get a dub for one of their legends who passed away last night. So this is Bob Melvin sharing on how important it was to get the win last night.
Tonight.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's probably there with us again, just like Willie the other night here. Dramatic wins, late, walk-off type thing. From pitch one, the place was rocking, and that's kind of what happens when they're here. It's a Friday night. It's, all the ingredients to be a really, emotional type game if it's close, and certainly with a walk-off.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Giants, it was scheduled theater for the Giants with Logan Webb on the mound. And again, Logan Webb just kind of putting nails on the opposing team. I mean, he didn't get through it unscathed. He did give up 2 runs, but in the importance of him limiting the damage and going deep. I mean, we'll talk about that later. Going 7 innings. Bob Melvin talked about that, just the importance of that game alone, but then you also look to the bullpen games that are going to be in effect today and tomorrow as well. It just sets up the Giants pretty nicely going against the Los Angeles Dodgers. And Matt Chapman, he was talking about the Giants playing and honoring, the rest of this season is to honor the past legends with Willie Mays and Orlando Cepeda. This is what Matt Chapman had to say after the game.
Absolutely. This organization has a big history, and I think when you play for the front of the jersey and play for the guys next to you, good things happen. I think when you start focusing too much on yourself, that's not winning baseball. So I think this team definitely embodies that, and we're here to play winning baseball, and we're here to represent the Giants well.
Yeah, and they represented the Giants well last night. It's been inconsistent baseball for the 2024 season, but hopefully once they start to get a little bit more healthy, we can get some consistency there for the Giants. And then now we'll look to Logan Webb. Logan Webb was lights out last night. He delivered when he needed to. This guy is when you start talking about Giants all-stars, right? when you start talking about who would be the representative, I mean, Logan Webb does make a strong case. I mean, it's not only based on the numbers, but he's the greatest leader for the Giants right now. When you start seeing him going out there, throwing 7 innings, throwing 6 innings, throwing 7 innings, that's just what he does on a regular basis. And he does it because he is the leader and that's what's needed. So Logan Webb goes out there and he shares his thoughts about hearing the announcement of Orlando Cepeda passing away last night at the age of 86 during the game.
Yeah, it was tough. I think it was the same inning, too, as the last one, so it was kind of the same thing. I took my hat off, and then the clock was running, so I was like, I think you need to stop the clock right here. And it's been a tough month for Giants baseball, and losing special guys like that. There's another one that I got to meet when I was real young. He's a huge part of what we are as players in our organization. It's awful.
Yeah, and you heard it there a little bit there with Logan Webb saying that it was the same inning as last time, and that's because he was on the mound in Wrigley when the announcement of the passing of Willie Mays happened. So the fact that Logan Webb had to endure this twice in the last 2 weeks, and the fact that he was able to go out there and be the strength of this team to not really get rattled or anything like that, that just proves and shows the true character of Logan Webb 100%. We do have another cut on Kruk and Kite, but I do want to get out to the phone lines. Again, 415-808-KNBR. That's 415-808-5627. If you have thoughts on Orlando Cepeda, if you grew up and you watched him play, what he means to you and all of that, and even if you have thoughts on Willie Mays, just the sudden passing of that era of Giants baseball. I mean, it's coming quick. You don't like to think about it, but it's reality. So let's go out to John in Sacramento. He wants to talk about Orlando Cepeda. John, welcome to the Giants warm-up show. How are you doing this morning?
Hey, thank you, guys. And I just want to comment and let you know that long-time Giants fan. I go down where I was born in the city back in 1954, became a Giants fan all the way back at Field Stadium in the 60s. When Dad used to take me to the ball games, and grew into Candlestick Park as well as the Giants from up till now. And Orlando Cepeda comes into mind. Of course, Willie Mays. I can always talk about that, but Orlando, Cha-Cha, Baby Bull was definitely the foundation of baseball in San Francisco. We looked at sometimes where he would play first base when Willie wasn't playing, or he played out the field. So he was very rounded, and it was just a sad thing when he had to get traded to lead the Giants, but he did get a ring out of it. But very well said and very well loved. Even his later years as a young man growing up, I was about my teenage years, and he came in with the Atlanta Braves. Came in with the Atlanta Braves at the time. And I was one of those young men that would go to the hotel, the Jack Tar Hotel on Van Ness Avenue, and seek autographs from baseball players. And I went up there one year, and the Orlando Cepeda was coming in with the Atlanta Braves, and he invited me up to his hotel room to get autograph from him and a couple other ball players, and just had a little talk with me as a young man, So baseball's always been a good part of me and a big part of me. And that's what I really love about the Giants Foundation that we do have, especially with the Big Four. And I know that it hurts a lot for all of us as Giants fans to see, Orlando go. But, hey, he is a true Giants man all the way through, and we love it. We just love him.
Yeah, forever Giant, and beautifully said, John. Really appreciate the call, and thanks for listening. That's the great thing about it. I mean, John was talking about it there, is that both Willies, Willie Mays, Willie McCovey, Orlando Cepeda, like these were staples for San Francisco Giants fans, and moving forward into the generations, like you can't not be a Giants fan and not know about these guys. You know what I mean? And the fact that he was able and lucky enough to meet Orlando Cepeda and get an autograph, like I have here right now. If you're watching on the YouTube chat, I'll put it up to the camera. But I have a autograph ball from Orlando Cepeda that I got at spring training, and I was lucky enough to have that experience. So really love the call, really love that, John, and just hearing the stories of people that how much this affects, because baseball is a game and it brings so much joy, and then you just remember the joy that these icons brought to, and it may not be you, it may be a family member that has passed on in that grew up watching the Willies and watching Orlando Cepeda. So I mean, it just, that's the beautiful thing about baseball, is that it stretches across generations, and everyone can feel it. And Giants fans, it was a tough day last night, but it helped to get the win for sure for Orlando, and to look to game 2 of the Giants and the Dodgers rivalry here. Raph, let's cue up the Crook and Kipe. They did give a remembrance on the legacy of Orlando Cepeda. I really liked this, so I'm going to play that for you. It's about 2 minutes, so just hang tight. But this is Crook and Kipe talking about the legacy of Orlando after the announcement of his passing last night.
We, in this short period of time we have, would like to talk a little bit about Orlando Cepeda, who passed away today. It was announced around the 4th or 5th inning here at the ballpark. And number 30, Orlando Cepeda, forever Giant.
Well, and this has really been a tough 10 days for Giants fans and baseball fans around the country. And anybody who came in contact with Orlando, whether it's just watching on TV or you had an experience with him, and he touched base with a lot of people. A legend, an MVP, a 6-time All-Star. I really got to know the legend of Orlando Cepeda when I went down and played in Puerto Rico in 1976. The love that island had for Cepeda. This is before he got into the Hall of Fame. It was just so deep-rooted, and when you got to know him, you understood. I mean, he was a man full of life, a man who loved music. He loved to sing. I mean, he loved to dance. He loved people. He looked for the good in people, and he was one of those guys who, he was just a great teammate. He took care of everybody that he played with. And when he retired, he became a liaison here, was around the ballpark a lot, and he represented the Giants all around the country, and we're going to miss him. He just, you can't replace Orlando.
And if you remember, it wasn't just the Baby Bull that people called him. He was also known as Cha-Cha, just because of his, not just the love of the game, but the love of life after the game.
It's so true.
There are stories about play the game at Candlestick, and you would find Orlando dancing somewhere in the city of San Francisco.
Now, you could not outdress Orlando Cepeda.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a style monster, and nobody looked better in a hat than him. He was just so much fun. God bless him. And Baby Bull, we're going to miss you.
Yep. So we lost another one of our Hall of Famers, Orlando Cepeda.
Oh man, I love that story at the end where they were saying, like, they called him Cha-Cha because he'd be out there living the life and dancing on the dance floor. And man, that's something when I hear, like, I could just think of my family members. Like that's what it rings with me. But yes, Orlando Cepeda passes away, and he will be missed. And again, like people that knew him, and people that saw him play, and people that saw his energy, again, just brings joy to your mind. So Orlando Cepeda passes away at the age of 86, and the Giants did get the win last night for the Hall of Famer, and they look to continue to honor the legacy of Willie Mays and of Orlando Cepeda. As the Dodgers are in town, Tyler Glasnow is on the mound today, and Raph, I'm not heading out to the ballpark today, but I will be out there possibly tomorrow. Got to get me a cha-cha bowl,
nice, man. It's sunny,
got to get me a cha-cha
weather.
bowl. You gonna get a cha-cha bowl, Raph?
I'll be there.
In honor?
Just for the cha-cha bowl.
Dude, just for the Cha-Cha Bowl. We got to get that for sure. So we will continue to talk about the rivalry, the Giants-Dodgers Game 2, Giants bullpen game. Tyler Glasnow on the mound. We'll talk about all of that. And we have to talk about last night's game. We didn't get into that at all. So we got to talk about the hero, Brett Wisely. We'll do that all on the other side. Go ahead and give me a call, 808-415 5627. That's 415 808-KNBR. Give us a call, and I do see you on the line there. Mike, if you're still on there, just hang tight. I'll get to you on the other side as the Giants warm-up show continues on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
KNBR Giants warm-up keeps rolling on the sports leader.
All right, you hear that music there, the Gap Band. You know what time it is. Brett Wisely, the hero for the Giants last night. Wow, it was just incredible. Just a back and forth affair with how everything transpired. And Luis Matos, shout out Luis Matos for getting the party started for the Giants. I believe it was in the 5th inning, hit that solo shot. That's someone to keep an eye on moving forward as well. I love to see these young guys contributing to this Giants team. But Brett Wisely, to quote a wise man, Raph, hit the S out of that. Hit the S out of that. So welcome back to the Giants warm-up show. I'm Walter Cepeda, taking you all the way up to 3:15. That is when the Giants official pregame show will begin, and we'll take you into the booth. We'll give you those diamond notes that everybody looks forward to every single weekend. But Brett Wisely, I mean, we have to take acknowledgement right now and just talk about how the Giants just continue to battle. And it wasn't looking too good a couple of days ago, and or coming off of their road trip, going into the 4-game set against the Chicago Cubs, where you had TBD, and then Jordan Hicks. It was not looking good coming off of that weekend series in St. Louis. It just wasn't good vibes. But the Giants, their bullpen, they're being called upon, and they have answered the phone. I mean, they've answered the request to put in those strong innings that they need right now because of the lack of starting pitching depth right now because of all of the injuries with Blake Snell and with Kyle Harrison and Robbie Ray pitched yesterday in San Jose. We'll give you an update on that as the warm-up show continues. But injuries is a part of all sports. There's never an instance where injury does not play in a factor. And this year in particular, the Giants have been decimated by the amount of injuries, and they're at crucial positions. I mean, when the Giants lost Lamont Wade Jr., I felt like that was going to be a huge blow to their offense. I mean, that guy is a on-base machine. I think he has a 465 on-base percentage, tops in baseball. So when you lose that kind of guy, yeah, your offense is going to take a dip. When you don't have guys contributing every 5th day, and you don't have a solid rotation, and you're having to do bullpen games, the team could falter. But that is something where the Giants, at least this year, and when you're looking at the National League, and I'll give you a standings update here shortly, but when you're looking at the National League, I mean, no one is running away from it in the wild card race, and that is the Giants could be much further down on the totem pole than they are at the moment. When you look at the standings, I mean, they're right there in the thick of it. When you're looking at all these teams that are the National League is just underperforming. And let's just go ahead and give you that right now as we're talking about it. The standings update sponsored by Alameda County Probation Department. Visit joinacpd.org today for a career that matters. When you look at the wild card standings, and I'll give you the West standings just so that you know where everything is playing out. But not much has changed since the last time we gave you a standings update last weekend. Dodgers are sitting atop the West at 51-32. You got the Padres at 45-41. Then you have the Giants in 3rd place, 3 games below 500 at 40-43. But they have gone on a 4-1 homestand. They are playing pretty good baseball right now, and just with all the factors that are at hand right now, with the amount of injuries and the fact that they don't have a rotation, it is promising. I mean, when these guys start to get more healthy, and I mentioned earlier with Kyle Harrison potentially coming back or he is expected to be back on the next road trip, that'll be huge. They're going to need him in Atlanta or in Cleveland whenever it lands up. It may be that last game in Atlanta. He might be pitching on July 4th, actually, now that Now that I'm counting it out, he might be pitching on July 4th. So we'll have to see what happens with Kyle Harrison. But you get that guy back, and you start getting Blake Snell back, and it sounds like he's going to need another rehab start in Sacramento, and that could be frustrating. I know Giants fans want to see the investment. They want to see it play out, and they want to see Blake Snell on the big stage. And I can't wait until that happens, because I do believe, again, it's a lot to put, all your eggs into one basket. But I do believe that when Blake Snell comes back and when he is ready to go 100% and he is good and feeling great on the mound, I do believe that we're going to see the version of Blake Snell that got him the Cy Young last year. I just have that feeling when he comes back. It's going to be good for the Giants rotation, and just to have that solid body just going in there every fifth day and can get you 5 and then maybe 6. That would be better, and that would take a burden off of this bullpen right now that is just pitching their lights out. But going back to the standings, we were talking about the West, but let's look at the wild card, because the Giants right now, with all of their injuries, despite everything, they are only 2.5 games back of that final wild card spot. When you look at all the teams that are ahead of them right now, it's Atlanta. That is a team that they are playing directly next week that will have direct implications on this Giants playoff trajectory. And this whole stretch right now that started from this homestand against the Chicago Cubs, the 4-game set. And you can even go back the week before that when they were playing in Wrigley Field, and you had the Cardinals there. This just whole stretch of 19 games or something like that, or 13 games, I think it was. It has been crucial for the San Francisco Giants. So the fact that they are still within arm's reach of all of these teams. You have Atlanta at 45-35. They're the first wild card team. You have the San Diego Padres 45-41. That's right behind the Braves. And then you have the St. Louis Cardinals at 42-40. That rounds out your 3 wildcard spots in the National League. But then when you look at the teams that are trailing, you have the red hot, I guess right now, the New York Mets. But I'm not buying that. I don't know if they're going to be able to sustain that over a long period of time. But you have the New York Mets at 40-39. And they are 2 games up on the Giants, I believe, if I'm reading that correctly. And then you have the Giants at 40-43, 3 games below 500 and 2.5 games back of that final wild card team. And then you have a whole bunch of other teams that are in the mix, with the Pirates, with the Diamondbacks, with the Reds and the Nationals, and you got the Cubs in the mix. Literally the only teams that aren't in the mix for the National League wild card is the Miami Marlins and the Colorado Rockies. So just the fact that they are able to tread water, the fact that they are able to kind of float around 500, another 3 games below, but if they can climb back up to that point and just kind of hold steady until all the reinforcements come back with the starting rotation, because that was expected to be the strength of this Giants team. Now, I would go out and say that the strength of this team now is just the perseverance that they've had to withstand all of these injuries. And you start looking at guys like Luis Matos, who is hitting 2 home runs, but we all remember back at the last Dodgers series where he made that incredible rob of a home run of Teoscar Hernandez in right center field. And then he went on that tear against the Colorado Rockies that Friday and Saturday, had 11 RBIs. So that's contributions from the farm system. Then you look at Brett Wisely, who has the walk-off game or game winner home run last night. And you just start looking at all these guys. I didn't even mention Hayden Birdsong getting the call earlier this week, a 22-year-old, one of the youngest guys. I think the stat was one of the guys that get a start before their 23rd birthday. You look at Matt Cain, you look at Tim Lincecum, you look at Madison Bumgarner, Logan Webb, Kyle Harrison, now Hayden Birdsong. The fact that he was able to come out there and he almost got 5 innings. I really wanted him to get that last out, but Suzuki hit that homer. But he almost got 5 innings. That was almost a quality start for Hayden Birdsong. And the fact that he's doing that at 22 years old, they're just having all of these contributors. And maybe down the road, I mean, maybe we see Reggie Crawford at some point in the bullpen. Maybe we see Carson Wisenhunt. Maybe we see more of the starting pitchers in Sacramento. Carson Seymour could possibly be a guy. Landon Roop was contributing earlier on in the season. So when you start looking at all the contributions from the farm system and Brett Wisely kind of coming back into that conversation, and he's going to be relied upon hugely right now with with Tyro Estrada landing on the injured list. He's going to be relied on heavily right now. He's going to be the main second baseman with Nick Ahmed over there at shortstop, and we'll have to see how all that plays out. But the fact that they are getting contributions, I didn't even mention the best hitter for the Giants. He's tailed off the last couple of days, but couple of games, but he had the best month. He's like right up there with the top hitters in Elliot Ramos. I think he's tied for 5th with the most home runs in the month of June. So you start looking at all these guys, all these contributions. It's just the Giants are able to put together. They're starting to form into a team, and that's when they're not at full strength. So what can this team be at full strength? 415-808-5627. That's 415-808 KNBR. Go ahead and give me a call. Give me your thoughts. Chime in on the chat as well. We're live on YouTube and on Twitch. What can this team be at full strength? But let's go out to the lines. I know that Mike in San Francisco has been hanging on tight since the beginning of the show. So, Raph, let's go out to Mike, and he wants to talk Giants and Dodgers. What's up, Mike? How you doing, man?
Hey, well, thanks for having me on today. I promised you a Giants Dodgers horror story, and I promised you, since last night happened, that I'd give you the opportunity to let me either tell 2 stories or the one. So I do have a Orlando Cepeda story to share.
Yeah, let's hear both of them. Let's hear both of them, Mike. We got time. Let's hear both.
Okay. I'll start with the Giants Dodgers story, which we want to win this series. When I was a kid, if I could get my John Miller voice channel in at least. When I was a kid, Mom used to take me out to the ball game, usually on the weekends out at Candlestick. We'd always sit in the bleachers. One year when Parker jackets were hot, I remember it being a hot summer day. The Giants were playing the Dodgers. It was my first memory of the rivalry, come to think of it. We went out to the ballpark in her old T-Bird. She got out of the car with a blue jacket on and wrapped around her waist. Went in, got her seats. Sure enough, when she took the Parker jacket off and put it on, it was a Dodgers jacket. I was besides myself. I remember looking around in all directions like, is anyone seeing this shot?
Yeah.
In which, when I looked at her, she just had this huge smile on her face. Sure enough, Giants fans in our section started yapping at her. She just sat there smiling, and I couldn't take it anymore. I got up out of my seat and started defending her with all the cuss language an 8-year-old might know. And took on all comers, and that's where I'll leave it. But after the game, I remember asking her, "Why in the heaven's name did you do that? Were you trying to make a man out of me?" She smiled and said, "No, I just like the jacket and I hate baseball." She grew up with 4 younger brothers, so I understand. Go Giants.
Gotcha.
And here, my Cepeda story.
Let's hear it.
I never heard about him. I never got the chance to see him play. So my Cepeda story was last night. If you don't believe in miracles, let me tell you one. Moments before the Giants announced that Orlando Cepeda was one of their all-time greats had passed away just last night. Just a moment before, a young man named Luis Matos sent a first pitch fastball over the left center field wall, sending the baby bull for cha-cha off in style. After our hearts sank, a veteran who's instituted the identity of this fine team with the salute sign this season left no one behind. He picked us all up for when we were down. He hit the ball out where no one could catch it down the left field line. We were back on our feet, crying and determined not to show it. San Francisco fans at the park showed their true courage last night, cheering on our guys. In the bottom of the ninth inning against our rival Los Angeles Dodgers, a man trying to earn his keep and make his way in this world named Brett Wisely, who had merely nights before him admitted to himself before us all after a home game that he was sorry he didn't have enough power to hit it out to right center field, the place otherwise known as 29 out of 30. The ballpark, the average man is made human. He swung the baseball bat and looked with the belief that Orlando Cepeda was there tonight as the baseball nearly landed in the water cannon. Miracles do happen, my friend, as he called everyone. The Giants won for Orlando.
I love it, Mike. I love it, and call back anytime, man. I love that story. They really, and thank you for the call, Mike. They really channeled the power. They channeled the energy of the Baby Bull last night with Luis Matos, with Matt Chapman coming back, and then Brett Wisely just sending us all home happy last night. And against the Dodgers, I think that's, I don't know if it's baseball is just. Yeah, we're all romantics, right? But the fact that they were able to do it against the Dodgers and in the fashion that they did with the power display and they showed the ultimate testament to Orlando Cepeda last night and getting that win. Love that story, Mike. I really appreciate it. We have more callers on the line, but we will go ahead and take a quick break. We'll continue this conversation. I believe we have Woody there. Is that Woody Wonka, Raph? Is that Woody Wonka in
yeah, that's right.
In Redwood City?
All right,
yeah,
you correct
all right.
me.
We're gonna get to him on the other side. We're gonna continue this conversation. Get you ready for the Giants and Dodgers rivalry game 2, the last Saturday game of the San Francisco series portion of it. They do play the Dodgers one more time at the end of July. And that'll be it. That's a weird one. Go ahead and give me your thoughts on that, 415-808 KNBR. But we'll continue the conversation, getting you closer and closer to the Giants pregame show, official pregame show at 3:15. We'll continue that on the other side. You're listening to Giants Warm-Up Show on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Welcome back to our KNBR Giants warm-up on the Sports Leader.
All right, welcome back to the Giants warm-up show as we get you ready for the Giants and the Dodgers game 2 here in San Francisco, 24 Willie Mays Plaza. But we do have some breaking news really quick. Yeah, thank you, Raf. As Shams Charania of The Athletic go ahead and says that the Golden State Warriors are preparing to lose 4-time NBA champion Klay Thompson in free agency and expected parting ways between the legendary dynasty and the legacy player, league sources say. So that is from Shams Charania. Yeah, dude, that's breaking news. I know it's not Giants Dodgers related, but it is Bay related. So yeah, that'll be incredible to see what ends up happening with the Golden State Warriors. But yes, they are expected to lose their legendary player Klay Thompson to free agency. So if you have any thoughts on that, go ahead and give me a call as we wrap up the Giants warm-up show. Also in the YouTube chat and on Twitch, just the thoughts of just when you start looking at players, legacy players, it's always a hard time to say bye to these guys. I know the Giants fans have had the hardest time. I mean, a lot of Giants fans were feeling it when we had to say bye to Brandon Crawford, when we had to say bye to Buster Posey. I mean, it was different with Buster Posey because he just retired. He didn't go anywhere else. But when they had to say bye to Madison Bumgarner, when they had to say bye to Tim Lincecum, and you had to see them don another uniform, and these are players that they just embodied your franchise. They brought you so much happiness. They brought you those championships. So I know it's hard for Dub Nation, but Giants fans can relate to where we've seen over the last decade when the Giants were winning World Series and we had to see the end of that dynasty get transitioned. Really, really interesting time period for the Golden State Warriors and for Klay Thompson. But the Giants and the Dodgers are coming up here, and the new legacy is Logan Webb, right? Logan Webb is somebody that was kind of the changing of the guard, and you start looking at we mentioned the 23 and under crowd of guys making their debuts, and Hayden Birdsong was the latest to get added to that list this past Wednesday when he made his first start. You look at the similarities, I guess. So you would look at 05 was Matt Cain, and I believe it was 07 or 06 was Tim Lincecum, and then you had Madison Bumgarner in 2010, and then you fast forward 9 years later where Logan Webb made his first start under 23 years old. And Logan Webb is kind of that version of the new guard, because now you look at Kyle Harrison, who is also on that list, and Hayden Birdsong. Maybe he becomes a fixture of this Giants rotation down the road at some point. But the Giants and Logan Webb, I mean, we're going to continue that on in this segment and get you ready for Giants and Dodgers. We do have more guys on the phone lines. I'm just pulling that up really quick. But when you look at Logan Webb, I mean, his performance last night really set up the Giants and and this pitching staff to really go into this series and really focus on executing via the bullpen, because he goes 7 innings strong last night, gave up two runs, but went 7 innings strong, only allowed 2 other guys to pitch from the bullpen. That was Tyler Rogers, who, again, I mean, we were talking about all-stars earlier. He could be an all-star at some point for the Giants. Who knows? Maybe he's the representative. Yes, on the chat, yes, people were talking about Panda being one of those guys leaving from the World Series championship teams, and Brandon Belt, again, one of those guys leaving. So yeah, the parallel with the Warriors and the Giants, you have to say bye to your players, to your legacy at some point. So yeah, for the Warriors, that is now where they're saying goodbye to Klay Thompson. But Logan Webb really set up this team to have a chance, and I think that's what you'd want against the Dodgers. You want to have a chance every single time, and they set up this team so perfectly for this bullpen game that they're going to toss out today and possibly tomorrow. We'll have to see how this game goes tonight and see how many arms that they have at the ready. But when you start looking at this bullpen, Eric Miller will be on the mound today for the San Francisco Giants. He's going to be the opener, and I would assume that it would go to Spencer Howard because he last pitched on the 25th, I believe, earlier this week. So he would be the next guy. I was thinking it was going to be Randy Rodriguez, but again, he might be somebody that they save for tomorrow if they can afford to. So let's go out to the phone lines really quick before we take our last break and get you ready for the Giants and the Dodgers at 3:15. Official pregame show begins. But let's go out to the phone lines. Woody Wonka, I believe. Woody Wonka in Redwood City. What's up, Woody? How you feeling today?
Hey, thank you very much for taking my call. I appreciate it. I feel really good, especially how the game ended last night. First of all, I want to say God bless Orlando Cepeda, and I had the pleasure of watching him back in the '60s when he was a game changer. And thoughts out to his family. You asked how I think the Giants are going to be doing, what the potential is. I've been watching them a long time, obviously. I think they have the potential to have somebody step up on a regular basis and carry the team for a while, and take it series by series. I hope they hit 500 by the end of the season. This year they have a chance to get in the playoffs and be a wild card at a 500. But again, don't look too far down the road. Take it series by series. They got a great coach who can manage the talent they got. Logan Webb is a joy to watch. He's a stud. He's a stopper, and I got faith in him. I've got orange and black in my veins though for the last going on 60 years. So the bottom line is I have faith in him, but don't look too far down the road, and don't look behind what everybody else is doing. Focus on day by day. I got faith in these guys. They're a good bunch of kids. They have the talent to rotate who's going to lead for the day or the couple days. Luis right now is on a hot streak. Logan Webb is pretty much, I won't say a guaranteed win, but he'll go 6-7 innings every start. And that's my feeling. But thanks for taking my call. Appreciate it. And one last thing, Klay Thompson, God bless Klay. He gave us some good moments. I wish him well. I hope he stays healthy. He wants the money. God bless him. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, for sure, and thank you for that last nod there, Woody, in Wanna Creek in Redwood City. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Klay Thompson, that's huge news. Yeah, you gotta wish him well and thank him for the memories, right? And I think that's something that Giants fans can definitely relate to is that they had to say goodbye to so many guys from the past championships teams, and when that happens, you just remember all the good memories that you did get with those guys. And Klay Thompson, there's no doubt in my mind that he'll be in the Hall of Fame, and that dynasty that we saw was similar to the dynasty of the San Francisco Giants, that 3 and 5 years. So just dominance in the Bay Area. Just kudos to the Bay for having championships all around. But Woody, yeah, he mentioned there, and I don't know if he's there anymore, Raph, but thanks for the call, Woody. Really appreciate it. Yeah, man, when you look at this team and you look at this youth movement, and there is a belief to where they just have to kind of pedal around 500, get healthy, and then go on a run. And the important thing for the Giants right now is that they are playing decent baseball. It's not great baseball. It's not good baseball. It's decent baseball right now. And with the situation at hand, it's just, they're having to play with a lot of injuries right now. So once they get healthy, and Woody feels like they have a chance, and that's the thing when you go back to, we're talking about the past champions of the San Francisco Giants. When you go back to that and you just think about what the formula was, it was to get into the damn playoffs. That's all you have to do is get into the playoffs. Right now they don't have a rotation, but at some point these guys are coming back. Kyle Harrison is coming back at some point. Blake Snell will be on this Giants team in the rotation at some point. Robbie Ray will be a contributor. He pitched last night in Sacramento, or not Sacramento. He pitched last night in San Jose. It was his 6th rehab start, and he's on his road back from Tommy John. And he tossed 3 2/3 innings against Fresno, allowing 3 hits, no walks, 4 Ks on 48 pitches. So he's ramping up. 48 pitches, 33 of those were for strike. And then when you start looking at Blake Snell, he made his 2nd rehab start in Sacramento. He will need another start on Wednesday. So maybe when the Giants come back with that series to close out the first half, the first official first half going into the All-Star break, maybe he'll be around when the Toronto Blue Jays and the Minnesota Twins come to town. But he worked in Sacramento last night, 3 innings, allowed 3 runs on 4 hits while striking out 6 on 62 pitches, 41 of those for strikes. So Woody is optimistic. How optimistic are you, Giants fans? We have the Giants and the Dodgers coming up next. So we're going to take one last break and get you ready for game 2 of this rivalry series. And if you're heading to the ballpark, go ahead and give me one of those cool shirts because Danny Dunn had one of those. They look pretty sweet. The BLA shirts that they're handing out today. But I will be out there tomorrow. Best believe, yes, everyone in the chat, they were saying it earlier. Best believe I'm getting those Mickey Mouse ears. No question, to celebrate the Mickey Mouse championship from the Los Angeles Dodgers. Love the pettiness from the Giants marketing team this weekend. So we will continue the conversation on the other side. You're listening to the Giants Warm-Up Show on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
We're getting you in the mood for a crazy crab sandwich, some garlic fries, a cha-cha bowl, and some orange and black baseball. KNBR's Giants warm-up keeps rolling on the sports leader.
All right, welcome back. Gotta love the cha-cha bowls. Raph, we gotta go out there and get some tomorrow, some day baseball tomorrow for the Giants and the Dodgers. But today, game 2, you got Tyler Glasnow on the mound for the Dodgers, and the Giants going bullpen game. And that's where I lead to our next read of the day is key player. I guess today would be key players. Key player of the week, sponsored by the Key Point Credit Union, Next Generation Neighborhood Banking. It's Giants bullpen. Giants bullpen, hands down. The bullpen has been throwing a lot of innings this year, but in the last 8 games, they've thrown 37 innings. And with that, they have 47 strikeouts and an ERA of 3.08 there. And again, that is the key player of the week for the Giants. Now, we did come in last segment. Just got to give you some update here. Breaking news on Golden State Warriors from Shams Charania, preparing to lose 4-time NBA champion Klay Thompson in free agency and expected to part ways between the legendary dynasty and the legacy player that is Klay Thompson. So more on Klay Thompson coming up after the warm-up show concludes. If you're on KNBR, we'll be going to the official pregame show. But if you're on YouTube and Twitch, stick around. Just Dubs emergency show is going to be coming up with JD and Greg Silver. They're going to break it all down and just a little update on Klay Thompson. It looks like the Lakers, the Clippers, shout out, hate LA. The Lakers and the Clippers, also the Mavericks, are expected to show interest in Klay Thompson. That is from Shams Charania. So again, if you are hanging out on Twitch and on YouTube, we will continue that conversation on the other side as we go over on the radio side. We'll go over to the Giants pregame show on YouTube and Twitch. We will go to Just Dubs. So hang out and get all your information there from JD, from John Dickinson, and Greg Silver to break it all down and what that means for the Warriors, what direction that they will be going in, as it looks like Klay Thompson, their dynasty is coming to an end. So we'll get you ready here for the Giants and the Dodgers. I did not read a lineup for you guys. Let me get you a lineup here really quick as they take on Tyler Glasnow. It's going to be a really tough situation there, really tough matchup for the Giants. But here is the lineup, much like last night, I believe. But we go with leading off. Again, it's an interesting situation to have Jorge Soler lead off, but he is leading off today at the DH spot. You have Lamont Wade Jr. batting second at first base. Elliot Ramos batting third in center field. I do like this lineup, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Greg Dayton in the chat is probably losing his mind right now as I'm reading this lineup for everybody. Patrick Bailey batting cleanup here behind the dish. You have Matt Chapman, who hit that 2-run homer. Maybe he'll be featured in Diamond Notes. Matt Chapman is hitting 5th at third base. Michael Conforto batting 6th in left field. Luis Matos batting 7th right field. Brett Wisely batting 8th at second base. And Nick Ahmed at shortstop there in the 9-hole. So again, Jorge Soler, Wade Jr., Ramos, Bailey, Chapman, Conforto, Matos, Wisely, and Nick Ahmed, and that is your lineup. Eric Miller is on the mound for the Giants for the opener. And again, I don't know if it's been announced yet. I haven't seen it, but they will be doing a bullpen game, and I would assume that it would be Spencer Howard coming out of the pen after that one inning of the opener for Eric Miller. So let's go out to the lines really quick as we wrap up the Giants warm-up show. Let's go to is Dory there, Raph? Is Dory still available? He wants to talk about Orlando Cepeda. What's up, Dory? How you doing?
Hey, man. Thanks, Walter, for fitting me in. I'll try to be quick. There are two separate things I want to talk about. I grew up a baseball fanatic in the 1960s on the East Coast, and I was a Mets fan, number one, but I followed the Giants really closely. I loved the Latino players, the Alou brothers and Juan Marichal, and of course Orlando. And then many years later, So I do a radio show on public radio in San Francisco on KALW Saturday nights. That's 91.7. And I play music from all over the world, but I happen to be in a Latin jazz groove. And Orlando calls up and just tells me how he's digging the music, and we just talk music for a while. So,
That's incredible.
My only contact with Cha-Cha was in a music vein, not in a baseball vein. But one other thing I'll say quickly is that, the guy that was responsible for the Latino pipeline was Alex Pompez, who also played an instrumental role in getting Willie Mays to the New York Giants. And Orlando, in 1961, he injured his right knee in a collision at home plate against the Dodgers. And at that point, manager Alvin Dark thought that he underestimated the severity of the injury and thought Orlando was dogging it. So they didn't get along. And Alvin Dark also ordered the Giants to have the Latino players stop speaking Spanish and stop listening to music in the clubhouse. There was almost a revolt against Alvin Dark, and it was Willie Mays who was the mediator who basically prevented a mutiny at that time.
Yeah, incredible stories. And Dory, thank you so much for the time. Thank you for the call. Thank you for the insight. Really appreciate that. Just listening to all these, everyone call in and having their, everyone had a Willie story and everyone has, their stories, but having them on Orlando Cepeda, it's pretty remarkable. Dory there just said that, he had a connection with him via the music realm. It wasn't baseball. And that just shows like how much of a good person that Orlando Cepeda was. So again, the Giants are taking on the Dodgers here. Game 2, Eric Miller on the mound, Tyler Glass now on the mound for the Dodgers. Read you that lineup there. But again, if you are on YouTube and Twitch, hang tight because Just Dubs is going to be coming up on YouTube, and we will continue the conversation of Klay Thompson no longer being with the Warriors. That is with John Dickinson and Greg Silver. So if you are on the YouTube chat or in Twitch, hang tight. But if you are on KNBR, we will be switching gears and talking with not Dave Fleming. I thought we were talking to Dave. We'll be talking with Kipe, who had that incredible call of you love to hear the walk-offs with Dwayne Kuiper. So we're going to be talking with Kipe on the other side as we get ready for the Giants and Dodgers game 2, bullpen game for the Giants tonight. But with what Logan Webb did last night, they are in prime position to give the Dodgers their best shot with their bullpen game. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We will talk with Dwayne about all of that and last night and going into today as well. So we will keep it here on KNBR, the sports leader, Giants pregame show. But if you want some Dubs talk, go ahead and head over to the YouTube channels and stay on the YouTube channels if you want some of that and hear about Klay with Just Dubs with John Dickinson and Greg Silver. So Giants pregame show coming up next on KNBR, the sports leader.